Chapter 457. The black sword light rolled back without any warning, and the black sword artist was sent flying by his own sword. Just like the essence of this profound martial skill, Black Dragon Wave, its trajectory was mysterious. If the opponent couldn't block it, then neither could the user. It was ironic. Spraying blood everywhere, the black sword artist crashed into the Zhenyuan barrier of the crowd in the pavilion. With his back as the center, a circular shockwave exploded. Many of the spectators stood up, and those who didn't were slightly trembling. Regardless of whether they stood up or not, they were all indescribably shocked. Unbelievable, unbelievable. He actually broke the black sword artist's profound martial skill and counterattacked. What kind of determination and sword technique is needed to achieve this? He previously said that this blood might not be mine and might be yours. I thought he was just saying it casually, but I can't believe he actually did it. I can't deny that his sword Dao cultivation base is already above the black sword artist. If it could be said that the horrified expressions of the others were more or less filled with confusion and incomprehension, then the horrified expression of the deadly swordsman Leng Zhuo was completely filled with understanding and understanding. His title as the deadly swordsman was as his name implied. His sword art was extremely ruthless and ruthless. He walked a tricky path, making it impossible for one to see the trajectory of his sword or see the trajectory of his sword. By the time one saw his sword, it would already be too late. Although he didn't comprehend an elemental sword intent and couldn't compete with the black sword artist in terms of pure offensive power, his techniques could make up for this disadvantage. He had mastered a total of 3 top-rank Earth Realm sword arts, all of which he had cultivated to the extreme. Apart from that, he had also comprehended a low-rank profound sword skill to 40% completion. These 3 sword arts and 1 sword skill were all focused on killing in one strike. Even if he were to face the black sword artist, he wouldn't be afraid. In his opinion, the odds of victory were only 50-50. Either he would be defeated by the black sword artist, or he would be able to injure the opponent in a short time and win. There was no third possibility. Originally, after the fight between Yi Qin and the black sword artist, regardless of the outcome, Leng Zhuo would challenge one of them. But now he no longer had the heart to challenge Yi Qin. This person's sword art was the type that Leng Zhuo was most afraid of encountering. It was perfect and flawless. Of course, a flawless sword artist didn't mean that he could defeat a flawed sword artist. However, there was no doubt that Leng Zhuo was most afraid of a flawless sword artist. In his opinion, Yi Qin was a flawless sword artist. Yi Qin had used the same amount of power to suppress the berserk black sword artist from start to finish. This was something that Leng Zhuo couldn't do. If he were to face Yi Qin, Leng Zhuo would probably be weaker than black sword artist. Especially after Yi Qin executed the reverse sky lightning cut, Leng Zhuo knew that he didn't have the slightest chance. Not to mention killing Yi Qin with a single strike, he would probably be killed by Yi Qin with a single strike. Leng Zhuo relaxed his clenched fists. He had already given up on challenging Yi Qin. Kneeling on one knee, the black sword artist vomited a mouthful of blood, his complexion extremely pale. "You actually counterattacked my Black Dragon Wave?" His shock wasn't without reason. Yi Qin could shatter the Black Dragon Wave, but he couldn't accept the fact that he was injured by the Black Dragon Wave. Yi Qin glanced at the thunder sword in his left hand and said, "For a moment of inspiration, I have to thank you." The reverse sky lightning cut was just something he had casually executed. After all, he was proficient in 2 great mentalities, one being the thunder mentality and the other the wood mentality. Sword arts that were propelled by these 2 mentalities needed a corresponding treasure sword to complement them. No matter how fast Yi Qin's sword swapping speed was, there would always be a waste. Therefore, with a flash of inspiration, he used his left hand to reverse grip the thunder sword and executed the sky lightning cut. Thunder struck down from the sky and it was called Sky Thunder. As it struck down, it was like a peerless treasure sword, sharp and unstoppable. The reverse sky lightning cut moved in the opposite direction, striking from below like the reversal of the universe. The sky was no longer the sky and the earth was no longer the earth. Not only could it cut off the opponent's attack, it could even counterattack the opponent's attack, returning it to its normal state. It sounded easy, but it wasn't necessarily easy to do. The first time Yi Qin performed the reverse sky lightning cut, it wasn't the real one, because it didn't have any other function other than cutting off a bit more power. However, the second time he performed it, Yi Qin purposely made it work. It was all thanks to Yi Qin's powerful soul. Relying on his terrifying soul source, he was able to reverse the sky lightning cut in a short time, using the most powerful point of the attack at the moment of the sword attack and the weakest point at the moment of the attack. It was the exact opposite of the normal sky lightning cut. Therefore, no matter if it was the reverse sky lightning cut or the sky lightning cut, they were essentially the same. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't have been able to recreate a sword movement that was more powerful than the sky lightning cut. The reverse sky lightning cut was not only a counterattack movement, but also an offensive one. However, the counterattack was a bit more strange and impossible to defend against. In other words, with the reverse sky lightning cut, Yi Chen's awkwardness had been alleviated to a certain degree. Regardless of whether he wanted to admit it or not, the lack of sword movements was his biggest problem. Other people had the support of powerful martial institutions, so after learning a top-rank Earth Realm sword art, they could still learn a second one. If they got bored of top-rank Earth Realm sword arts, they could change their tastes and challenge more difficult profound sword arts. Up until now, he had only inherited one Green Lotus sword art, which was honestly very powerful. It was way more powerful than normal top-rank Earth Realm sword arts. It was almost the peak of top-rank Earth Realm sword arts, and there was no other top-rank Earth Realm sword art that could be more powerful than it. Because of this, the ninth movement was extremely hard to comprehend. Yi Chen suspected that with this amount of time, he could even comprehend a profound sword movement that required the Thunder Profound to 30%. Although once he comprehended the ninth movement of the Green Lotus sword art, its power would be unparalleled, and it might even surpass Yi Chen's imagination. However, if he did not comprehend the ninth movement, he would not be able to use it as his ace attack, and he would not be able to change the situation. Besides the Green Lotus sword art, the Sky Lightning cut had been created by Yi Chen step by step. He had been using it from the beginning until now, and it had been extremely smooth. Besides these two, Yi Chen did not have any other ace sword art that he could use anymore. Right now, the reverse Sky Lightning cut had undoubtedly solved Yi Chen's urgent problem. In a situation where the power was equal, the importance of martial arts was way too big, and it was related to life and death. Hearing Yi Chen say that he would have to thank him for the sudden inspiration, Black Sword Artist almost puked out another mouthful of blood. Although he did not puke out any blood, his face was still extremely pale. His opponent still had the time to create an unimaginable sword movement in the middle of a fierce battle, which was no different from slapping his face. Sudden inspiration. Anyone could have a sudden inspiration, but it did not mean that it could be put into action. After all, this was not a battle between mortal realm martial artists, where a sudden inspiration could turn the tables. It should be known that they were absolute astral-reaching experts, and that sudden inspiration, which could be put into action without any time, was completely useless. On the other hand, Yi Chen's sudden inspiration had almost beaten him half to death. The difference between the two was too big. Therefore, Black Sword Artist did not believe that this was a sword move created by Yi Chen's sudden inspiration. It was certainly his hidden ace. Thinking of this, Black Sword Artist felt much better. Being defeated by a hidden ace was something he could reluctantly accept, although his face was a bit unsightly. After the tea gathering, I will fight you again. Black Sword Artist had made up his mind to comprehend Black Dragon Wave to 40% completion. If not for the fact that he had spent too much time comprehending the Slaughter Sword intent, he would not have lost to Yi Chen today. However, he did not expect that without the Slaughter Sword intent, how would he be able to fight against Yi Chen? The huge black sword landed on the ground as Black Sword Artist stood up and returned to his seat without saying a word. Thunder Princess watched Black Sword Artist leave and slowly let out a breath, then announced, "This battle Yi Chen wins." Hearing these words, everyone in South Rudra region had different expressions. Mu Lingfeng was ecstatic. He did not expect that at the last moment, Yi Chen would defeat Black Sword Artist so cleanly. That sword move was simply too stunning. Sikong Xing sneered, not knowing what he was thinking. Beside him, 7th Knight and 6th Knight exchanged a bitter smile, believing that they were not Yi Chen's opponent. Everyone else's expression was normal. They had long since seen how deep Yi Chen was. Perhaps he still had more powerful killing moves. In Gold Sand region's direction, the purple-haired bewitching woman beside Astral Spirit's son turned her head and said, "Leng Zhuo, aren't you going to challenge him?" Dressed in gray clothes, the ordinary-looking Leng Zhuo was just like his name, cold and indifferent. It was as if nothing could attract his attention, yet he seemed to put everything in his eyes. His expression did not change, neither cold nor hot, as he said, "I am not as good as him." Interesting. The purple-haired bewitching woman was slightly astonished. She was not a sword artist, so she did not know much about the deep-level battles between sword artists. However, she understood Leng Zhuo. This person's sword arts were unique, and he specialized in killing with one strike. Even if he were to face someone stronger than him, he would be fearless. There were examples to prove that in the past few years, he had killed countless sword artists stronger than him. He was called the Life Reaper sword artist by the people of Gold Sand region. The purple-haired bewitching woman originally thought that Leng Zhuo would challenge him. Who would have thought that he would directly say that he was not as good as Yi Qin? This did not sound like he was inferior in strength, but in the aspect he specialized in. In other words, Leng Zhuo believed that he had no chance at all. After defeating the black sword artist, Yi Qin felt that his Zhen Yuan had been consumed quite a bit. He cupped his fists and said, "I've already fought 4 battles in a row, and my Zhen Yuan consumption is not small. I'll go take a rest." After saying these words, he turned around and walked back to his seat. Looking at Yi Qin's back, a lot of people let out admiring gazes. 1 man and 1 sword battling 4 people in a row and defeating 4 of them in a row. Moreover, none of them were nameless warriors. Such an achievement would definitely cause a sensation. Because of him, the South Rudra region had jumped from the first level to the second level, and was unparalleled in the second level. Regardless of the outcome of the tea gathering, the title of the #1 sword artist of South Rudra region had completely fallen into Yi Qin's hands. In a few days it would spread throughout the entire South Rudra region, and his fame would resound throughout the whole region for the first time. #1 sword artist. South Rudra region. What kind of glory was this? Apart from the glory of being the #1 sword artist, everyone believed that Yi Qin had the strength to enter the top 10. Top 3 wasn't too likely, but 4th, 5th, or even 6th was a possibility. He has truly become famous overnight. Everyone sighed inwardly. Yi Qin's departure from the stage made the following exchanges somewhat dull. However, everyone was looking forward to the fiery exchanges. After all, there were still many powerful figures who hadn't made their moves yet, especially the Thunder Princess, Edict Prince, and Astral Spirit Son. Chapter 458. In everyone's opinion, Leng Zhuo, who didn't dare to challenge Yi Qin, was just an undeserved reputation. He didn't deserve the title of Fatal Sword Caesar, nor did he deserve to be called one of the 3 great sword artists of the southern sector. However, they were wrong. His strength was definitely beyond their imagination. 4 consecutive opponents were all famous sword artists, but they all lost miserably at his hands. The first opponent was Li Daoxian. He could only receive 1 sword strike, but he couldn't raise the second one no matter what, because Leng Zhuo's sword was already on his neck. The second opponent was Feng Yanro, who could only receive 1 strike as well. It wasn't because her icy snow sword domain wasn't powerful enough, but because she didn't even have the time to use it. The opponent's sword was like a ghost, breaking through her defense before she could even react. It was terrifyingly fast and accurate. The third opponent was Fire Swamp region's 2nd-ranked Underworld Flame Sword artist. His strength was also above the previous 2, and he managed to receive 3 strikes from Leng Zhuo. The first strike ended in a draw, the second strike knocked away his long sword, the third strike broke his protective Zhen Yuan, and the fourth strike landed on his shoulder. The victory came so quickly that the spectators didn't even have the time to get excited. The fourth opponent was none other than Misty Snow region's 1st-ranked Ling Hanya, also known as Drifting Snow Sword Artist. Despite his title, Ling Hanya's strength was only at the same level as Red Water Taoist Wang Qi, at most a bit higher. Therefore he was still defeated, but at least he managed to exchange 7 strikes. At this point, the spectators finally understood that it wasn't that fatal sword artist Leng Zhuo wasn't strong, but that Yi Qin was too strong. Even if he went up, he wouldn't be Yi Qin's opponent. What a frightening fatal swift sword. Mu Lingfeng mumbled. Yi Qin said, if the black sword artist's sword pursues destructive power, then Leng Zhuo's sword pursues one-hit kill. The 2 are different styles, but from a certain perspective, Leng Zhuo is more frightening. Mu Lingfeng faintly nodded. He was not a stupid person. Leng Zhuo was like an assassin among sword artists, pursuing efficiency. Therefore those with lower strength were even more unwilling to face him. In the following exchanges, Bing Ling, Mo Yen, Gu Yuyun, and Chen Yun all went up to challenge the young elites of other regions. Bing Ling's strength was only slightly inferior to Li Daoxian, Yan Qihua, and Bing Ling, which made many people exclaim at the freakishness of South Rudra region. With Yi Qin, Li Daoxian, and Yan Qihua, it was still not enough. Now there was another Bing Ling. Perhaps the current lineup of South Rudra region couldn't compare to the top 3 regions, and in terms of average strength, it couldn't compare to the older regions like Misty Snow region, Cloud Billow region, and the other big regions. However, one had to understand the situation clearly. In the last tea gathering, South Rudra region was a joke. Among the hundreds of people present, only Sikong Sheng was from South Rudra region. Who would have thought that after 2 years, South Rudra region would undergo such a huge change, with powerful people emerging in large numbers? Bing Ling had shown her own brilliance, while Mo Yen had sunk into darkness. Of course, he would still be an amazing martial genius in South Rudra region. However, this was the southern regions where there were no top geniuses, only more geniuses. The strength he had displayed was no different from normal geniuses. As for Gu Yuyun and Qian Yun, although they didn't display too much of their power, compared to their age and improvement in the past couple of years, they couldn't be ignored. What was certain was that in the future tea gathering, they would be the core power of South Rudra region. TSK. What a beautiful girl. Not only has South Rudra region completely changed, even the beauties here are extraordinary. Could it be that the heavens have started to love South Rudra region and have gathered all the natural essence there? Her name is Murong Qingqing, right? She is indeed like her name. As soon as Murong Qingqing went up, most of the young warriors were shocked. Some of the beauties who claimed to be beauties were also secretly jealous. Murong Qingqing's opponent was not a normal warrior, but the third-ranked young warrior of Snow Iron region. The result was shocking. Her opponent didn't even have the strength to fight back, and had no choice but to admit defeat. The second opponent was even more powerful. He was the fourth-ranked young warrior of Floating Light region. Floating Light region was the region where Edict Prince resided, and was publicly recognized as one of the 3 most powerful regions in the southern regions. If he were to enter Misty Snow region, he would probably be ranked second. However, he still wasn't Murong Qingqing's opponent. How is this possible? What happened in South Rudra region? That cold beauty Bing Ling is already powerful enough, but this Murong Qingqing is even more powerful. Not to mention the average strength, South Rudra region is definitely the #1 region below the 3 most powerful regions. It's too frightening. Unknowingly, South Rudra region had become the center of everyone's discussion, and it had never stopped. Interesting. My hands are itching. In the Thunder region formation, young cult leader Yin Zhongli, who was sitting beside Beast Prince Mo Xiang, stood up and walked up to the stage with a smile. What? Yin Zhongli is going to challenge Murong Qingqing? Yin Zhongli was very famous in the Thunder region. In the last tea gathering he was ranked just below Mo Xiang, ranked 3rd in the Thunder region. However, Mo Xiang did not compete with him at that time. Seriously speaking, it was very likely that they were evenly matched. Even if Mo Xiang was stronger, he was only slightly stronger. Both of them had the strength of the top 10 of the southern sector. Yin Zhongli, one of the 10 fake dragons. On the other side, Edict Prince muttered. The beautiful girl named Uxn shook her head. He will lose. Edict Prince was slightly surprised. If it were someone else who said this, he would have thought it over. However, since it was Uxin who said it, he had to believe it even if he didn't want to, even though he knew that it wasn't good to blindly believe it. Uxin's strength was not as good as his, but only he knew that her eyesight was frightening. It was a kind of deep insight. As the young leader of the Shining School and the great-grandson of the Shining King, Yin Zhongli was undoubtedly powerful. However, he was famous for his speed, which was like a flickering ghost. Once he activated his speed, apart from the Thunder Princess and the other 2, everyone else would have a headache. A dark yellow light flashed everywhere, and the crowd could no longer see Yin Zhongli's body. Light cut. Suddenly appearing behind Murong Qingqing, Yin Zhongli waved his arm, and a thin light arc that was dozens of meters long shot out like a flash of light. Crack. The light arc did not hit Murong Qingqing, but only created a large cluster of sparks on the exposed thunder iron. However, it seemed to be protected by a layer of restrictive energy, and was not damaged in the slightest. Yin Zhongli's brows creased. In that split second, Murong Qingqing had taken a couple of steps to the side. It was as if she had teleported, which was even faster than teleportation. 1,000 twist 100 stabs. Pushing his speed to the limit, Yin Zhongli would launch an attack every time he turned around. All of a sudden, the whole place was filled with his attacks, which was extremely strange. Heaven's rebuke. A black light flashed through her eyes as Murong Qingqing found Yin Zhongli's rhythm. She threw out a palm attack in advance, which contained a repulsive force. Not good. Yin Zhongli's body paused, forcefully changing his movement trajectory. The repulsive force was shapeless and formless. Yin Zhongli was fine, but a young man from the Snow Iron region 1 li behind him was out of luck. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the platform. He can actually see through my movement? Yin Zhongli was bewildered. Not only was Yin Zhongli bewildered, even the Thunder Princess and the other 2 were bewildered. They could only vaguely distinguish Yin Zhongli's movement trajectory from outside the arena. If they were on the scene, they would definitely not be able to attack in advance. No wonder you said that Yin Zhongli would lose. Edict Prince believed that in terms of seeing through movement trajectories, he was not as good as Murong Qingqing, and his opponent was probably at the same level as Yuxian. In terms of perception, the two of them were absolutely peerless. It's the same in the underground world. It was not the first time that Yi Qin had seen her perception power. That kind of perception power was not very likely to be mental power. Instead, it was a deeper and more mysterious power, a power that no one else could cultivate. Having his movement trajectory seen through continuously, Yin Zhongli finally lost his patience. The reason why he could be ranked third in the Thunder region and think that he would not lose to Mo Xiang was because of his movement skill. But now, his movement skill was useless and his power was greatly reduced. So what if I've been seen through? Take this move of mine. Yin Zhongli performed a profound martial skill and attacked Murong Qingqing with all his strength. Flying Assassination Cut. As a genius disciple of the Sky Flying Demon Martial School, it was impossible for Murong Qingqing to not have trained a profound sense martial art. This profound sense martial art of hers was indeed the Flying Sky Assassination Cut, a horrifying killing attack that specialized in assassination. Combined with Murong Qingqing's powerful observation, she would be able to pinpoint her opponent's weak spot within a second, jump into the air and kill with one attack. Yin Zhongli's weak point was hit, and he was sent flying backward while vomiting blood. Unbelievably powerful. Even Yin Zhongli is not her opponent. Could it be that her power is not weaker than Yi Qin's? A small region that has been weak for a long time suddenly has 2 warriors in the top 10. This is crazy. Even the top 3 regions would not be this powerful. The Thunder Princess was a bit surprised at this result. But she was indeed a true dragon-level genius of the southern region. She calmly announced, Murong Qingqing wins. Murong Qingqing nodded slightly and turned around to leave the stage. She did not seem to want to continue the battle. Yi Qin, Murong Qingqing is also powerful. Mu Lingfeng turned his head to look at Yi Qin. After witnessing the battle between Murong Qingqing and Yin Zhongli, he really did not know who was stronger, although Yi Qin had shown more power. Yi Qin faintly smiled. You only need to know that she is not simple. She always has been. Tua Baku said meaningfully, Yi Qin, you have to be careful of your position. Not only Murong Qingqing but Xikong Sheng, I also want to beat you. Yi Qin said casually, if you can then go and fight. I will be waiting for you here. Haha, if I don't show my power you won't take me seriously. It's my turn. Tua Baku could feel Yi Qin's domineering aura, so he laughed and walked onto the stage with big steps. His tall and majestic body looked like it was made of steel. Bang. Unstoppable, steady like a mountain. This was the image that Tua Baku gave to everyone. His opponents were defeated one after another under his destructive attacks. I'm already numb. Is this really the South Rudra region? His strength is not any weaker than Yi Qin's. 3 people from one region can compete for the top 10 of the southern region. What a frightening lineup. Sizing up Tua Baku on the stage, Edict Prince thought to himself, he should be one of the 10 fake dragons. Adding that Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing, the South Rudra region would have 3 fake dragons. They are not to be underestimated. Although he could see how many real Dragon Chi and fake Dragon Chi were in the sky above the Thunder City, he would still have to distinguish them face to face. For example, before Tua Baku went on the stage he would never associate him with the fake Dragon Chi. Seeing Tua Baku, who was once weaker than him, Yan Qihua felt suffocated for a moment. He murmured, so, he has already caught up to Yi Qin. Yi Qin was the target of everyone in the South Rudra region. But now, Tua Baku and Murong Qingqing had both displayed strength that was not any weaker than Yi Qin's, which made him feel an incomparably heavy pressure. Chapter 459. Thunder Region. Mo Xiang, please teach me. Tua Baku's power had ignited Mo Xiang's battle intent. In his opinion, the South Rudra region had been in the limelight enough already, and it was time to beat them down a bit. Especially after Murong Qingqing had shown such a horrifying power. If he did not show it now, even he himself would feel embarrassed. After all, he had told her that if she ran into any trouble in the Thunder City, she should just tell him his name. Right now it sounded so annoying. His body left a long shadow in the air as Mo Xiang landed lightly in front of Tua Baku. He had not even attacked yet, but a wave of powerful chi had already exploded. The main character is here. Tua Baku put away his relaxed expression. The Beast Prince Mo Xiang was not just anyone. He was ranked second in the Thunder region and top 5 in the South region, a true dragon-level martial genius. Just the name of the Beast Prince was enough to oppress people to death. Not to mention the fact that he had not shown his power yet, so no one knew exactly how powerful he was. The two stood 100 meters away from each other, looking at each other quietly. A gust of wind blew toward Tuabaku from the south to the north, and Mo Xiang's back was facing the wind. The second the wind started to blow, Mo Xiang moved. No one could describe how agile Mo Xiang's movement was. This kind of agility was not something a human should have, but a flying beast. He opened both of his arms, and before he could even think of anything, he had already arrived in front of Tuabaku, throwing out his most powerful attack. His body slightly tilted in the air as his right knee kicked out. Mo Xiang's attack was both simple and aggressive. Wild goose attack. Tuabaku's pupils shrank suddenly. Right then, Mo Xiang was no different from a beast in his eyes, and it was a beast that was full of intelligence. This simple knee attack brought up a blue meteor-like tail flame. In that split second he could only cross his arms and take it head-on. Dong. One attacked with all of his power while the other was defending passively. It was destined that Mo Xiang would have the upper hand. Tuabaku's feet rubbed the surface of the platform as he backed out. That powerful pressure formed behind him. So powerful. Tuabaku had to admit that he had underestimated Mo Xiang. Being able to be ranked in the top 5 of the southern regions, it was definitely not just for show. After gaining the upper hand in one move, Mo Xiang's offensive didn't stop. Borrowing the force of the collision, he soared into the sky and chopped down with a high kick. This high kick was like 100 zhang long python pouncing at full strength towards his opponent. The terrifying leg pressure caused the air to surge like waves, rolling to both sides. Python pounce. Tuabaku was not a normal warrior after all. Even if he had lost the upper hand, he did not lose his calmness. Facing that powerful kick, he lowered his body into a horse stance and threw out a series of punches while backing out. Savage 18 punches. Boom. With Tuabaku as the center, countless fist shadows blossomed, looking like the blooming of a daffodil. Get down? Mo Xiang groaned with a low voice. His body twisted and 7 human-shaped shadows shot out. These 7 human-shaped shadows combined with his real body, attacking Tuabaku with even more aggressive leg attacks. Each attack brought with it a horrifying poetic perspective. Hundreds and thousands of attacks were thrown down, like an army attacking a battlefield. Crack. Bending his knees, Tuabaku became a little shorter. The sound of his bones being squeezed kept on being heard. He suspected that if this continued, he would be squashed. A wild light shot out of his eyes as Tuabaku roared. His spine and knees straightened up. The second he straightened up, it was as if there were countless air bombs exploding around him. The chi flow was messy, forming into a dragon shape that lingered in the air for a long time. Dragon World. Tuabaku threw out an extremely horrifying dragon-shaped chi into the sky. The dragon-shaped chi roared into the sky, its massive head seeming to be able to swallow Mo Xiang and the space around him. The thin air had been stirred up until it looked like liquid. Bring out all of your power. Otherwise you will lose very soon. Mo Xiang's arms suddenly exploded with a blue chi flow. It was like fire burning fiercely. He crossed his arms and lifted them up high before attacking down. Tiger Soul Cross Attack. Boom. That crossed light was like a sky blade. With one attack, the dragon-shaped chi was shattered into pieces. Tuabaku puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown backward. So powerful. Is this the power of the Beast Prince Mo Xiang? He is indeed one of the top 5 martial geniuses of the southern region. Even Tuabaku, who was at the same level as Yi Qin, was not his opponent. It seems like in this tea gathering, Mo Xiang's status will still be the same. Everyone was shocked by Mo Xiang's battling power, especially the people from the Thunder region. They were all excited and their faces were full of pride. Mo Xiang being powerful meant that their Thunder region would be powerful as well, even though they still had the Thunder Princess who was even more powerful. This guy is so powerful. Wiping off the blood on the corner of his mouth, Tuabaku lifted up his head. His wild eyes released an even more intense battling intent, as if he had just woken up. Interesting. Mo Xiang could sense the change in Tuabaku and his nerves tightened. Tuabaku bent his knees and shot into the air. His left and right hands each threw out a dragon-shaped chi attack at Mo Xiang. I told you this is useless against me. Tiger Soul Cross Attack. The crossed light flashed once, and the 2 dragon-shaped chi attacks shattered instantly. However, in the next second, a shocking scene happened. A colorful giant lizard shadow appeared behind Tuabaku. Its body looked like a lizard, but its head was a real dragon head. With the help of the giant lizard shadow, Tuabaku looked like a god as he threw out a palm attack. Oh. A loud dragon roar was heard as the giant lizard shadow extended its neck and bit Emosiang, smashing him onto the ground. Blood spilled out of Emosiang's mouth. He had been wounded. What? No one had expected this kind of change to happen to Tuabaku's body. They all opened their mouths wide, not knowing what to say. Right next to Mu Lingfeng, a strange look flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. Giant lizard shadow, three-headed snake shadow? Perhaps there is some kind of connection between them? When people from the Wang family of the Snake Island battled with all of their power, a three-headed snake shadow would appear behind their backs. The more powerful they were, the more snake heads they would have. Wang's snake had a five-headed snake tattoo on his body, which meant that his bloodline was extremely rich, and his potential was extremely powerful as well. What I am sure of is that Tuabaku does not have a king bloodline, but his bloodline seems to be even more powerful than that. The king bloodline would show one's potential, but it would not affect one's current power. However, Tuabaku's bloodline could increase his power drastically, which was something that the king bloodline could not compete with. This is your real power. Puking out a mouthful of blood, the chi flow outside of Emosiang's body started to move rapidly. Because of the speed, his whole body looked like it was being cooked. Endless blue chi flow spread out from inside to outside, burning fiercely and twisting, which made Emosiang's aura increase drastically. A bloody battle. It was about to start. Enough, this battle is considered a draw. The Thunder Princess could tell that the two were fighting with all their might. If they continued to fight, one of them would die for sure. Plus, this was just a friendly battle, not a life-and-death battle. Dispersing the giant lizard shadow behind him, Tuabaku chuckled, "Consider yourself lucky. Otherwise, even I would not be able to control the situation from now on." Emosiang sneered, "You are lucky as well. Besides the battle with the Edict Prince in the last tea gathering, I have never shown my full power." Same here. The two's battle intent was endless, and they wished they could fight again. Seeing the two clashing with each other, the spectators did not find it funny at all. Since the beginning of the tea gathering, this would be the most powerful battle. Whether it was Yi Chen against the Black Sword Artist or Murong Qingqing against Yin Zhongli, none of them could compare to this battle. In their minds, Tuabaku and Emosiang were already the most powerful warriors below the top 3 dragon-level martial geniuses. Without any surprises, they would definitely be in the top 6. As for Yi Chen, although his sword arts were powerful, and that reverse sky thundercut had shocked a lot of people, it did not mean that he was powerful. The two were completely different concepts. I really did not expect that the most powerful warrior in the South Rudra region would not be Yi Chen, but this Tuabaku. Ling Hanya shook his head and forced a smile. He was thinking about what his rank would be in the South Rudra region. There were Tuabaku, Yi Chen, and Murong Qingqing in front of him, and he would only be ranked 4th at most. If that Xikong Sheng was also extremely powerful, he would only be ranked 5th. In the Misty Snow region he would be ranked 1st, but in a small region like the South Rudra region he would only be ranked 4th or 5th. The reality was indeed a joke. Qingzhu also sighed, "I thought Yi Chen was the most powerful one in the South Rudra region." Feng Yenro did not say anything. Her intuition told her that Yi Chen was not that simple. But the truth was right in front of her eyes and she could not refute it. Plus, this Tuabaku was indeed powerful, ridiculously powerful. The second that giant lizard shadow appeared, it seemed like it had brought her to a wild world. "How is it? Not bad, right?" Returning to his seat, Tuabaku picked up his teacup and drank all of the tea inside as he chuckled to Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded, "Why do I feel like our South Rudra region is a place full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers? Before there was Murong Qingqing and now there is you." There was one more person that he did not mention, which was Su Jing. Tuabaku knew what he was talking about, so he said mysteriously, "I cannot tell anyone about this." Yi Chen smiled but did not say anything else. In the third pavilion nearby, the 7th knight said to Xikong Sheng, "Plans cannot keep up with changes. 4th knight, it seems like your biggest opponent is not Yi Chen but Tuabaku." Xikong Sheng looked at Tuabaku with a serious expression and said lightly, "Take it slow." Tuabaku's sudden appearance was something that he had not expected. Facing Tuabaku face to face, he did not have the confidence to win at all. As for who was more powerful and who was weaker, he would have to fight to find out. Bystanders would not be able to understand the real details of the battle after all. Otherwise the battle would be meaningless. A bit of light appeared in the sky. Unknowingly, a night had passed. The tea gathering was said to be going for 3 days, but it was actually going for 3 days and 3 nights. 4 astral-reaching realm warriors, 3 days and 3 nights without sleep would not affect them at all. Once they reached the Sea of Souls realm, 1 month without sleep would not affect their mental state and battling power at all. It would only make them more excited. After the battle between Tua Baku and Emo Xiang, the heated atmosphere had calmed down. Everyone also needed time to digest the experience that they had gained from watching the previous battles. While drinking tea, they talked to each other in a low voice, looking like a real tea gathering. Chapter 460. Yeah, this guy's wood mentality is not bad. It has a thorny feeling to it. What? That's right. The wood mentality can represent many things such as big trees and thorns. It can also represent vines. Vines are very soft, and with a whip, it would have a huge destructive power. The thickness of wood is not the same as the thickness of soil. It is more holistic. There were around 400 people participating in the tea gathering, and more than 40 of them had mastered the wood mentality. Although all of them had mastered the wood mentality and had already reached the limit, the wood mentality of each one of them was different and not the same. While they were sparring, Yi Chen would carefully observe the wood mentality contained in their martial arts, gradually perfecting his own, preparing for the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. No matter how powerful Yi Chen's sword intent was, the lack of killing moves would always be a problem. Therefore he had to learn the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. With this move, he would have 3 killing moves, which would be more or less enough for him at the moment. As he observed more and more, he learned more and more. Yi Chen suddenly reached out his right hand, using his fingers as a sword to practice. Without using Zhen Yuan or sword intent, Yi Chen was just practicing calmly as if he was drawing a pattern in the air. However, after dozens of fingers, a change occurred. Wherever Yi Chen's fingers passed, the air seemed to be sliced by an extremely sharp sword, making a swishing sound. Later on, an extremely faint finger light appeared on his fingertip. This finger light had nothing to do with anything else. It seemed to be the sharpness of Yi Chen's body. The sharpness of his fingers was condensed from the sharpness qi. What is going on? Tua Baku and Mu Lingfeng looked at Yi Chen with shock. They were sure that Yi Chen did not use his Zhen Yuan or sword intent, but where did that finger light come from? It was so sharp, indescribably sharp, as if its very nature was sharp. His palm lightly patted the table and the small teacup jumped up. Tua Baku flicked the cup with his finger, and it shot out without a sound, passing by Yi Chen. Coincidentally, Yi Chen's finger tapped on the teacup. Time seemed to freeze for a moment. An extremely thin and sharp gust of wind shot out from the back of the teacup, leaving a small hole in the pavilion pillar. On the other hand, the teacup was not damaged at all, and the tea inside did not spill out. Grabbing the teacup with his left hand, Yi Chen took a sniff. It smelled nice, so he handed it over to Tua Baku. Tua Baku caught the teacup and hurried to check it, then again. Eventually, he lifted up his head and said with confusion, "No holes?" Yi Chen smiled and said, "Of course there are no holes. The holes on the pillars of the pavilion? That hole was caused by my inability to control my sword intent." Strange. Tua Baku still could not figure it out. If it was made by the sword intent, then it would not be possible for it to reach the pillar through the teacup. But if it was not made by the sword intent, then the hole on the pillar would not have formed in the first place. Both of them were impossible, so which one was more possible? The edge of the sword. It turns out that I am still missing the gold mentality. By observing other people's wood mentality, Yi Chen's understanding of the wood mentality was quite deep. He had already seen the beginning of the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Art. Therefore he became interested and started to practice it with his fingers instead of his sword. As he trained, he forgot about the wood mentality and the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Art. He sank into that kind of understanding of the sword. Since he had always been using the sword to fight against his enemies, and the sword was made of metal, it was naturally sharp. Therefore his sword arts had always been sharp as well. But without the sword, he realized that he still lacked the sharpness, the edge of the sword. Until then he finally understood how sad it would be for a sword artist to not learn the gold mentality, since no matter how good the other mentalities were, they would not be as sharp as the gold mentality. The gold mentality was like the bridge between the sword artist and the sword. With this bridge, the sword artist would be able to push their edge to the extreme and show the power of a sword artist. On the other hand, without this bridge, the sword artist would always be separated from the sword, and would not be able to burst out the extreme attacking power. Although I have only understood it now, it is not too late. Yi Chen let out a breath as his eyes landed on the small hole in the middle of the pillar. The hole was indeed created by the sword intent, but it was attached to the sharp qi. The sharp qi was formless and intangible, and the sword intent itself was also formless and intangible. Once it reached a certain level, it would be able to affect reality, which was why it had become formless and tangible. The two did not combine before going through the teacup, which was why the teacup did not shatter. After going through the teacup, the sharp qi and the sword intent combined and immediately left a small hole on the pillar. This finger attack contained all of Yi Chen's sharpness. But it was still far from enough. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus sword art is already showing signs. Next, I need to learn the gold mentality. I almost know where I should go in the future. The famous sword artists all had their own paths, which were their own sword arts. For a long time, Yi Chen's sword arts had not been very clear, and he only knew how to walk on it. But now he had found his own sword arts. It might be full of thorns, but once it was completed, he would be the number one on it. He would be able to compete with the ancient sword kings, and it would also allow him to step on the higher path of the Sword Emperor. Sword Emperor. What was the Sword Emperor? The king of the sword, the number one in all of history. No matter how powerful the ancient sword king was, he was only a sword king, not a sword emperor. The reason why he could not be called emperor was because he could not compete with the other emperors of the same generation, and was forced to call himself a king. Although there was no limit to one emperor, it was still extremely hard to become the sword emperor. Yi Chen had already prepared for anything. Clenching his fists slightly, Yi Chen could feel his blood boiling. Boom. The qi waves on the stage shot up into the sky, shaking the entire pavilion slightly. Yi Chen looked over and realized that it was Xikong Sheng who had entered the arena. His opponent was very powerful. He was the number 1 young warrior in the Fire Swamp region, and his power was not weaker than the number 3 warrior in the Thunder region, Yin Zhongli. The two exchanged dozens of attacks. The sky-high qi waves had nowhere to go, and they kept shooting up into the sky. Lose? His opponent performed a profound sense martial art, attacking towards Xikong Sheng heavily. Xikong Sheng was not scared at all, and he also used his profound sense martial art to fight back. Boom. A mottled light ball exploded, and Xikong Sheng backed out quickly without being wounded at all. However, his opponent did not know what had happened to him, but his body was frozen right there as he took the attack head-on, puking out a mouthful of blood. Xikong Sheng's profound sense martial art is a bit strange. Yi Chen had seen through it immediately. It was not that the number 1 young warrior in the Fire Swamp region did not want to back out, but he could not. That fist attack from Xikong Sheng seemed to have some kind of connection with the ground, using the endless gravity to freeze his opponent, forcing him to not be able to lift his feet for a second, forcing him to take the attack head-on. Chapter 461. As for Xikong Sheng's power, no one had the energy to be amazed anymore. They all knew that in this tea gathering, there were 4 powerful warriors from the South Rudra region: Tua Baku, Yi Chen, Murong Qingqing, and Xikong Sheng. All of them had the power to make it into the top 10. The other regions, including the top 3 regions, were all weaker than the South Rudra region in terms of top warriors. For example, the Thunder region would only have the Thunder Princess, Mo Xiang, and Yin Zhongli. The top warriors from the Floating Light region had not all shown up yet, but there would not be more than 3 of them. It was the same for the Gold Sand region. Besides the top 3 regions, there were also the Black Sword artist from the Black Gold region and the number 1 young warrior from the Fire Swamp region, CMO, who had just been beaten by Xikong Sheng. Lu Hun from the Floating Light region. After Xikong Sheng had beaten CMO, another powerful warrior stood up. He was the number 2 warrior from the Floating Light region, Lu Hun. Just like Mo Xiang, he was also one of the top 5 martial geniuses from the southern regions, with a dragon-level battling power. I hope he does not end up in a draw. Mo Xiang did not think that Lu Hun would lose, but he was afraid that Lu Hun and Xikong Sheng would end up in a draw. After all, the tea gathering was supposed to be a draw. On the 2 miles wide stage, Xikong Sheng and Lu Hun stood 100 meters away from each other. The two attacked almost at the same time. Xikong Sheng's body shook once as he performed his space move step, appearing right next to Lu Hun within a second and throwing out a punch. Fist Tyrant River. Boom. The fist that carried a horrifying power was stopped by a palm, and the owner of the palm was naturally Lu Hun. His body was not huge and his aura was not aggressive either. However, his body was filled with a mountain-like aura. Under that heavy aura, his every movement was extremely firm. Even when he was blocking Xikong Sheng's palm attack, he still looked extremely calm and relaxed. The fist power and the palm power clashed with each other, and the blast wave that exploded was like a huge pot that had been flipped upside down, blowing the two away. Fist-shattering river. Xikong Xing wanted to win too much. Even when he was flying backward, he did not forget to attack. He pulled his right fist back to his waist and threw it out. The fist power pierced through the air, leaving a black mark in the air. The black mark extended toward Lu Hun's chest. True martial kill. Facing this powerful fist attack, Lu Hun straightened his right hand and turned his palm into a blade. He threw out a blade attack, cutting off the black mark's path and shattering Xikong Sheng's attack. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as the two of them landed on the ground, they pounced at each other again. The switch between stillness and movement was so quick. Fist conquering the country. Fist breaking the mountains and seas. Fist breaking the sky. True martial divine palm. True martial interception. Dark counterattack. Both of them used their ultimate skills and were locked in battle. The entire arena was filled with the shadows of their fists and palm prints. Starry Sky Punch. Finally, Xikong Sheng performed the last movement of his mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art. Its power was equivalent to 20 to 30% of a profound sense martial art. In the air above the mountain and mountain platform, countless stars flickered in a picturesque manner. That was the phenomenon created by the fist energy. Anyone who came into contact with any of the stars would suffer a crazy attack. Those who faced this attack would feel as if they were in the starry sky, unable to retaliate. Powerful. But it does not work on me. A serious look flashed through Lu Hun's eyes. He stomped on the ground and turned his body into the air. Countless dark blue palm prints shot out toward Xikong Sheng's fist power. Each of them would cancel out one of the stars, taking up half of the space. As his Zhen Yuan was pushed to its limit, the dark blue light around his body intensified, continuously forming into dragon, phoenix, tiger and turtle shapes, looking like a celestial being. Naturally, Xikong Sheng did not think that he could beat Lu Hun easily. After all, the latter was at the same level as Mo Xianghe. Even if he was weaker, it would not be that much weaker. All of Xikong Sheng's clothes fluttered in the air without any wind. He took a step forward with his right foot and threw out a fist attack. Wait, this fist attack did not hit the ground. It was stopped when it was 3 feet away from the ground. However, a wave of ocean-like chi power had spread out along the ground. At first, it was messy, but halfway through, it had shrunk to half its size. By the time it reached the ground below Lu Hun, it had already condensed into a beam and exploded, spreading out in a fan shape. Pow, pow, pow. Before the chi power arrived, the spiral chi field outside of Lu Hun's body had already sensed it, making a weak exploding sound. However, Lu Hun did not care about it at all. The dark blue turtle formed by his Zhen Yuan suddenly sank down and was stepped on by his feet before falling down. Boom. The exploding sound of chi power continued to be heard. Xikong Sheng's attack had been shattered completely before it could even land. That dark blue turtle had an unimaginable suppressive power. Dragon, phoenix, tiger, turtle. The martial art on the turtle is the earth mentality. Perhaps you have mastered all 4 of them? Xikong Sheng sneered as he jumped out, throwing out the profound sense martial art that he had used to beat CMO, the top young warrior in the fire swamp region, the earth core sinking. Yeah. Such a horrifying gravity. Stepping on the dark blue turtle made of Zhen Yuan, Lu Hun felt that he could not move even an inch, as if he was being pulled by the gravity deep underground. Right in front of him, Xikong Sheng's fist enlarged in front of his eyes, that horrifying fist power attacking at a high speed in a spiral shape. If you can't dodge it, then you will have to face it head-on. You might not be able to dodge it. White Tiger Kill. Sinking his chi into his dantian, Lu Hun's eyes shot out a godly light. He reached out his left hand and placed his right fist on his waist, throwing out a punch with a white gold light, clashing with Xikong Sheng's fist power. Boom. A mottled light ball was formed between the two's fists. In the next second, the light ball exploded. It was not only Lu Hun who puked out blood, but Xikong Sheng was also puking out blood. How is this possible? Xikong Sheng realized that he was the same as his opponent, unable to move even an inch. He had been forced to take on the backfire of the blast wave, which had wounded his internal organs. Lu Hun wiped the blood off his mouth. My black tortoise suppression had suppressed everything within dozens of meters, including you. Although the backfire of the blast wave was very powerful, it had already been weakened by 30%. In other words, I had only taken on 70% of the backfire. What about you? Xikong Xing had a bad look on his face. He could tell that Lu Hun's wound was lighter than his. If they continued to fight, he would definitely not be his opponent. In the distance, Mo Xiang, who was watching the battle, laughed. Although Lu Hun and I have the same power, he is much more durable than me. Fighting with him head-on, the one who would suffer is 80%. As a true dragon-level warrior, the Thunder Princess had naturally seen all the details of the last battle. She said lightly, "This battle, Lu Hun wins." To be able to push Lu Hun to this level? Below the top 3 true dragon-level warriors, only the Beast Prince, Mo Xiang, had managed to do this. Although he lost, it was still an honor. The Xikong Xing is indeed powerful. Everyone was well aware of this result. Although it seemed like Xikong Xing had lost to Lu Hun, he was actually being suppressed. If it were another warrior who was at the same level as Lu Hun, he might not lose. The sun had risen to the middle of the sky, and it was already afternoon. By now, everyone had a rough ranking in their hearts. If there were no accidents, this ranking would be the truth. In most people's minds, the top 3 would be the top 3 true dragon-level warriors, which were the Thunder Princess, the Edict Prince, and the Astral Spirit Sun. The top 7 would be Mo Xiang, Tua Baku, Lu Hun, and Xikong Xing. The top 15 would be Yi Qin, Murong Qingqing, the Black Sword Artist, the Deadly Sword Artist, Leng Zhua, Yin Zhongli, CMO. Those young warriors who were ranked at the back basically had no hope of fighting for a higher rank, since no matter how hard they tried, they would still be at the back. They could just find some warriors with similar power to fight, since there were so many of them, and the further they were at the back, the harder it would be to determine their rank. In the afternoon, another top battling power had appeared in the Gold Sand region, and it was the beautiful lady with purple hair who was standing right next to the Astral Spirit Sun. She had rarely been out in the martial world before, and no one knew about her. Even the young warriors of the Gold Sand region barely knew about her, so they did not know her power. But once she attacked, the power she had displayed was enough to shock people. She was actually a dragon-level warrior who was not weaker than Mo Xiang. Murong Qingqing, let's have some fun. The beautiful lady with purple hair called herself Luo Shanv. She seemed to be very interested in Murong Qingqing. After beating a couple of powerful warriors, she called out her name. "All right." Murong Qingqing nodded and flew into the air. Boom, 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 boom. The battle between the two was extremely intense. The purple light and the black light interweaved and clashed continuously, each occupying half of the sky. Luo Shan's attacks were ruthless, and each of them was extremely explosive. Murong Qingqing's eyesight was unparalleled. She could always block out Luo Shan's fatal attacks and attack her weak points. She was even more powerful than Mo Yan's Sky Demon Eyes. Plus, every time a black light flashed in Murong Qingqing's eyes, her battling power would increase by a lot, which forced Luo Shan to defend for a while to avoid exposing a fatal flaw. I was wrong. Murong Qingqing does not seem to be weaker than Luo Shan. Doesn't that mean that her power is also at the same level as Mo Xiang? It is just that she did not show it before. Inside the South Rudra region, the weakest one would be Yi Qin. I really do not understand. Not necessarily. The South Rudra region is full of powerful warriors. Perhaps Yi Qin has hidden his power as well. That is not possible, right? Tua Baku, Xikong Xing, and Murong Qingqing are all at the demi-dragon level. Adding Yi Qin, it would be too much. Stop talking. The winner is about to be decided. Boom. The chi waves spread out on the battlefield as the two human figures were blown back. Flying Sky Assassination Cut. Touching the ground with the tip of her foot, Murong Qingqing threw out her ace attack. Luo Shan's purple hair danced in the air as a deep purple light shot out from her eyes. She threw out a purple light arc with her spear, which blocked out Murong Qingqing's attack. Then she twisted her body, holding another short spear in her left hand. She stabbed it towards Murong Qingqing's chest. That spear attack had almost blocked all of Murong Qingqing's escape routes. Besides fighting it head-on, there would be no other option. And if she fought it head-on, then the one who would lose would probably be Murong Qingqing, since her attacking power was not as powerful as Luo Shan. Right then, a black light appeared on her skin. As the black light appeared, Murong Qingqing's chi field changed drastically. With the help of her chi, a black chi flow appeared above the Thunder City. However, all of a sudden the black light on Murong Qingqing's skin disappeared, and the black chi flow above the Thunder City disappeared as well, as if it was just an illusion. Dong. In the end, Murong Qingqing lost to Luo Shan and was slightly wounded. Chapter 462. Jing Aoshuan, do you dare to fight me? Defeating Murong Qingqing did not satisfy Rakshas's daughter. She turned around and stared at the Thunder Princess with her gem-like eyes. What? She wants to challenge Princess Jing? Such ambition. Does she plan to shake the entire southern sector? Perhaps it's the spirit of not admitting defeat between women. In this tea gathering, Princess Jing, Murong Qingqing, and her were the most dazzling ones. Now that she has defeated Murong Qingqing, only Princess Jing is left. I wonder if Princess Jing will accept the challenge? Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan held the teacup in her hand and took a sip elegantly. She then put down the teacup and said lightly, "Why not?" Jing Aoshuan's voice was calm, and her movements were elegant. However, everyone could feel the domineering aura that was hidden in her bones. As she said that, the air currents in the sky seemed to have started to move, and the weather changed. Sensing Jing Aoshuan's powerful aura, Rakshas's daughter squinted her gem-like eyes, giving off a dangerous and serious change. Standing up, Jing Aoshuan walked over step by step. Let's begin. All right. The two were 100 meters apart, staring at each other quietly. Their gazes clashed and their auras clashed. As their auras clashed, the space between the two made a strange noise, as if there was an electric current brewing, ready to explode at any moment. Luo Shan's pupils shrunk. Jing Aoshuan's power was even more powerful than she had imagined. Not only did her aura not get the upper hand, but it had also been sucked into a thunder tornado, being devoured and weakened. However, Rakshas's daughter did not panic. Since she dared to challenge the famous Thunder Princess, Jing Aoshuan, she naturally had the confidence to do so. Before she came, she had already trained the Rakshasa art to the 14th level, and had also trained 2 low-rank ultimacy martial arts to 40% mastery. Other than not having a real martial soul, she did not seem to have any weaknesses. Moreover, she had a purple chi pearl in her hand. This pearl was a high-grade treasure. Not only could it store a large amount of true essence within it, but it could also temporarily extract true essence to make one's true essence even more vigorous and surging, increasing one's battle prowess by quite a bit. Boom. Rakshas's daughter took a step forward. The surging purple light was like a small purple sun. The short spear in her right hand suddenly pierced out as fast as lightning. Pitter-patter. This stab of Rakshasi was extraordinary. It forcibly swept up a large number of airflow vortexes. The airflow vortexes rose and fell one after another, growing stronger and stronger. It compressed the space in which Jing Aoshuan could move. Ding. Just like Murong Qingqing, Jing Aoshuan wore gloves on her hands. Murong Qingqing's glove was made of golden silk, while Jing Aoshuan's glove was made of blue silk. The glove was smooth, thin and slightly transparent. As Jing Aoshuan reached out with her right hand, the airflow vortexes shattered one after another. Finally, 2 fingers clamped onto the tip of Rakshas's spear, making a crisp sound of metal exploding. Arrogant. Rakshas's daughter saw that Jing Aoshuan had used 2 fingers to block her attack. Her face turned purple as she stabbed out with her other short spear. This spear was like a storm. It was Rakshas's daughter's attack that had been accumulating power. Jing Aoshuan looked calm. She rubbed her fingers that were clamping onto the tip of the spear, and a blue electric arc exploded. The high heat even caused the tip of the spear to show signs of melting, turning it bright red. Rakshas's daughter was stimulated by the electric arc. Her body went slightly numb and her attack slowed down a bit. At that moment, Jing Aoshuan took back her fingers and clenched them into a fist, punching the incoming short spear. Clang. A large amount of sparks shot up into the sky like fireworks exploding in front of the two of them. Well done. As expected of Jing Aoshuan. Jing Aoshuan's nonchalant attitude made Rakshas's daughter's fighting spirit even stronger. She leaped into the air and opened her arms. The 2 short spears spun a few times on her palms, as if she was holding 2 purple light wheels. Then she swung them down fiercely, slashing out 2 arcs of light that tore the sky apart. Rakshas's daughter thought that Jing Aoshuan would temporarily avoid the attack and take a few steps back. In that case, she would be able to perform her follow-up moves continuously, gaining the upper hand step by step until victory. Unexpectedly, Jing Aoshuan advanced instead of retreating. She took the initiative to enter the attack range of the arcs of light. Clang, 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 clang. Her sky-blue sleeves fluttered as Jing Aoshuan continued to throw out punches. Each of her punches gave off a powerful and domineering aura. The fist pressure was also tightly attached to the front of her fists, forming a thin film with lightning flickering on it. The arcs of light from Rakshas's attack were all shattered under this pair of fists. Not giving an inch, indeed the style of the Thunder Princess. Since you don't want to, then I will retreat. Let's see who will be the one laughing in the end. Seeing that her attack had failed, Rakshas's daughter suddenly retreated, coming and going as she pleased. Sigh. Edict Prince shook his head, not saying anything. Astral Spirit's son slightly creased his brows, not saying anything either. You think you can retreat? Two arcs of lightning flashed in front of Jing Aoshuan's eyes. With her as the center, the air within 3 meters instantly turned into a vacuum, causing the surrounding air to squeeze towards her. At the same time, Rakshas's retreat was like a boat going against the current, her speed decreasing rapidly. World Domination Fist. Boom. The radiating fist energy exploded, causing blood to leak out from the corner of Rakshas's daughter's mouth. So that's how it is. If I don't retreat, I will still have a chance. But once I do, there will be no chance at all. Rakshas's daughter was clear in her mind. She knew that she had made a huge mistake in front of Jing Aoshuan. Biting her lips, a purple mist rose from her face as the purple chi pearl on her neck poured a huge amount of Zhen Yuan into her body. With the addition of this Zhen Yuan, her aura increased drastically. The purple light around her body had already made the sun in the sky lose its color. Purple light sky strike. A purple light ball condensed on the tip of her spear as Rakshasa threw it at Jing Aoshuan. It was indeed one of the 2 profound sense martial arts she had mastered. Extreme Emperor World Domination Fist. From the beginning, Jing Aoshuan had not taken a single step back, and it was the same at this moment. She took a step forward and threw out another fist. However, this fist was twice as powerful as the previous one. The radiating fist energy tore through the sky and spread out. Rakshas's daughter's spear couldn't go any further because a fist was blocking it. She wanted to use her left hand to deliver a second strike, but the radiant fist force had already traveled along the spear's body, sending her flying into the air. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. 1 step back and then all the steps back. This was the biggest taboo when fighting with Jing Aoshuan. Stabilizing herself, Rakshas's daughter wiped the blood off her lips. Royal martial arts are indeed powerful. There is no such thing as taking a step back. Actually, she knew that even if she did not take a step back, she would not be Jing Aoshuan's opponent. At most, she would only be able to buy some time, which would be pointless. Jing Aoshuan said, "You are already very powerful to be able to force me to use my Extreme Emperor World Domination Fist. A loss is a loss. I admit defeat." Rakshas's daughter was not someone who could not afford to lose. Plus, losing to Jing Aoshuan was expected, but winning was unexpected. After that, the 2 returned to their seats. Indeed, Princess Jing has won. Isn't that obvious? Even if the Edict Prince and the Astral Spirit Son were to fight against Princess Jing, they would still be on par. Rakshas's daughter is still a bit weaker after all. It seems like it will still be a 3-way battle this year. Everyone was discussing, their voices filled with excitement. Since the martial tea gathering has been held, we will have to find out who is stronger. Lu Han, let's have a battle. It was Tua Baku who had spoken. He had not beaten Mo Xiang yet, so he had been itching for a fight. Lu Han and Mo Xiang were 2 different types of young warriors, and they would be powerful opponents. Alright. Lu Han was also filled with a powerful battling intent. Not only him, Mo Xiang, Sikong Sheng, Rakshas's daughter, and the other dragon-level warriors would not let it go just like that. The 2 had similar power, so the battle had reached its climax right from the beginning. The chi waves created by the collisions had almost shattered the Zhen Yuan wall that everyone had created. White Tiger Kill. Lu Han had thrown out his ace attack. Tua Baku's comprehensive ability was not as good as Lu Han's, so the power of his ace attack was not as powerful as Lu Han's as well. But he had a powerful bloodline. A huge shadow with a lizard's body and a dragon's head appeared behind his back. The shadow's neck was extended, and the dragon's head appeared in front of Tua Baku, blocking that attack for him. Then that huge shadow's foot that was covered in scales reached out and slapped Lu Han away. With his talent, Tua Baku had beaten Lu Han after a hard battle. Of course, it did not mean that Lu Han was not as powerful as Mo Xiang. It was just that Lu Han's attacking style was not as powerful as Mo Xiang's. Therefore he could not suppress Tua Baku at all. The battle between the 2 had ignited everyone's battling intent. Mo Xiang could not hold it anymore. He walked out wanting to challenge Tua Baku again. It was not that he did not want to challenge the others, but Sikong Sheng and Lu Han had been wounded, Lu Han and Tua Baku had been wounded, and Rakshasa and Jing Aoshuan had been wounded as well. Although it was not a big deal, he did not want to take advantage of them. As for Murong Qingqing, he did not want to face her at all. Even though he knew that Murong Qingqing's power was not weaker than hers, he just could not bring himself to do it. Therefore only Tuabaku was not wounded. After 1 night and half a day, the two's wounds had already been healed for a long time. Right now Tuabaku had only used up a little bit of Zhenyuan. Tuabaku was about to accept the challenge when Yi Qin stood up. Tuabaku, let me have this battle. You have used up quite a bit of Zhenyuan. Tuabaku seemed to have thought of something as he smiled and walked down the stage. Emo Xiang looked shocked. Could it be? Meanwhile, the people who were drinking tea started to discuss and express their opinions. No way. Yi Qin is going to challenge Emo Xiang. Emo Xiang is a true dragon-level warrior, which is even more powerful than the Black Sword artist. The reverse sky thunder cut will probably have no effect on him at all. This is no longer a matter of martial arts. It is a matter of basic power. Yeah. Judging on martial arts, Emo Xiang is not weaker than anyone else. Therefore, even if he had hidden more powerful ace attacks, it would still not work. Is it just for the sake of a challenge? Or maybe he saw that Tuabaku had used up a lot of Zhenyuan during the battle with Luhan, so he decided to fight for him. When Emo Xiang was battling with Tuabaku, the blue qi flow that came out of his body was very powerful. It was also the biggest reason why he was able to fight against Tuabaku's giant lizard shadow. Therefore, not many people thought that Yi Qin would be able to win against Emo Xiang with only his sword spirit level sword intent. Chapter 463. Inside the pavilion, Yi Qin's body shook once as he appeared 100 steps in front of Emo Xiang like a ghost. If you still have the same power as before, you will not be able to win against me. You will lose. Emo Xiang was not sure about Yi Qin, so he tried to test him. Yi Qin said lightly, just try your best. Emo Xiang did not know where Yi Qin got his confidence from, but he could vaguely tell that this battle would not be easy. Yi Qin obviously still had some hidden attacks. But even if he did, so what? Unless one had learned a profound sense martial art and had learned it to 50%. Unfortunately, 50% of a profound sense martial art was almost the dividing line. Beyond 50%, one would need to use the profound sense to push it, and the poetic perspective would be useless. In other words, without the corresponding profound sense, one would not be able to learn beyond 50% of a profound sense martial art, which would be the true essence of a profound sense martial art. Whether I need to try my best or not, it is up to me to decide. Just as he finished speaking, Emo Xiang bent both of his legs and jumped into the air. It was still the wild goose attack that he had used against Tuabaku. Although the wild goose attack was simple and it was not a secret anymore, it was performed by Emo Xiang without any flaws, and it was as fast as a shooting star. His body glided in the air as Emo Xiang's right knee attacked toward Yi Qin with a blue shooting star tail flame. Extremely fast. Extremely fast. This attack had accumulated all of Emo Xiang's explosive power. Right then, there was no point in trying to break through the attack because under such extreme speed, there would be no time to do so. However, he was fast, but Yi Qin was even faster. The fast part was to take out the sword. In Yi Qin's hands, the process of taking out the sword could be skipped. His mind moved, his hand moved, and the sword chi exploded, tearing apart the sky. Boom. The crescent-shaped sword light and the blue shooting star light clashed together. A circular shockwave spread out, and the Zhenyuan wall around them made a cracking sound. Such a fast sword-taking speed. Emo Xiang's pupils shrank. The wild goose attack had been blocked out and the python attack had been stopped. It was the complete opposite of when he was battling against Tuabaku. Without changing his posture, Yi Qin slid forward with his feet on the ground, but his eyes had already locked onto Emo Xiang, who was exposed by the shockwave, and he slashed at him. The sword chi, which contained the sword spirit level sword intent, tore through the air and cut through Emo Xiang's protective Zhenyuan like a sharp knife. The sword chi was shattered. Blue chi surged on Emo Xiang's palm, boiling like fire. At the waist of his clothes there was a cut. Looking down at his waist and then at Yi Qin, Emo Xiang's expression became much more serious. The blue airflow on his right palm suddenly burst out and he swung his hand. Tiger Soul Palm. The blue light palm was like a hot knife through butter, its destructive power multiplied. Emo Xiang was sure that with Yi Qin's current strength, it would be very difficult for him to block the Tiger Soul Palm, and the Tiger Soul Palm was not his strongest attack. It seems like I have to increase my sword intent. The center of his eyebrows slightly swelled, and the sword intent around Yi Qin's body increased drastically. If it was a beginner sword spirit level sword intent before, then it was now a peak level beginner sword spirit level sword intent. As the sword intent grew stronger, Yi Chen's whole body looked like a great sword, showing off its sharpness. Even the people outside of the battle could feel that sharp will power. Sky Thunder Cut. He was holding the destruction sword in his hand. Although it was not as good as the thunder sword, it was still better than the greenwood sword. The sword light sliced down, cutting open the blue light palm instantly. What? His sword intent increased again. It was not a hidden ace attack but a hidden power. Everyone was shocked but soon realized what was going on. Take my tiger soul cross cut. No one knew when but Mo Xiang jumped up into the sky. Both of his arms exploded with a blue flame like chi flow, burning fiercely. Then he crossed his arms and lifted them up high, waving them down. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Yi Chen had already prepared for this attack. He held the thunder sword's hilt with his left hand and pulled it out, waving upwards. The blue sword light wrapped around the cross light. Boom. Eventually the sword light and the cross light were both shattered. The aftershock had shattered a lot of Zhenyuan walls. Fortunately there were more people there to support the Zhenyuan walls. Mo Xiang was not surprised since the reverse Sky Thunder Cut was way more powerful than the Sky Thunder Cut. It was expected that it would be able to block out the Tiger Soul Cross Cut. This is your real power. But I have not shown my real power yet. Whoosh. Not only his arms, but Mo Xiang's whole body had exploded with blue chi flow. These blue chi flows rubbed against each other, looking like a blue flame, burning fiercely. During the battle with Tua Baku, he had planned to use his peak power, but he was stopped by the Thunder Princess. Of course, he also knew that the huge lizard shadow behind Tua Baku was not simple, and the result was still unknown. But Yi Chen was not Tua Baku and would not be able to block out his peak power. Mo Xiang is going to use all of his power now. I wonder if Yi Chen can handle it. Probably not. Yi Chen has already used all of his attacks and Mo Xiang has only just started. Yeah. This blue chi flow is too horrifying. With the blue chi flow, Mo Xiang's power has almost doubled. As the crowd discussed, Tua Baku stared at Yi Chen without blinking. Yi Chen Mo Xiang has already used his most powerful ace. What about you? What do you have? Not only Tua Baku, everyone was making guesses. The black sword artist who had lost to Yi Chen, the deadly sword artist Leng Zhua who had never battled with Yi Chen before, Luo Shan who had just won a lot, Lu Hun who had lost to Tua Baku, Xikong Sheng who had no expression on his face, and even the Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan, the Edict Prince and the Astral Spirit Son. When have I ever shown my real power? Putting the Thunder Sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen's sword intent did not decrease, but increased to an extremely horrifying level. That sword intent was so real that it had even shaken up the surreal space, and the sword sound had reached deep into people's souls. Eventually the sword intent had nowhere to go, so it shot up into the sky. Mid-rank sword spirit level sword intent. What is going on? The sword intent is still increasing. This sword intent is already not weaker than some of the powerful Sea of Souls realm sword artists. Perhaps he has been using the same level of power to fight with his opponents, and as his opponent's power increases, so does his. So horrifying. How can an astral-reaching realm warrior have such a horrifying sword intent? Mo Xiang was shocked. He thought that his opponent had already used up all of his tricks, but who knew that he would only reveal his real power now? If it were not for his power, he would not be able to force his opponent to use his real power. No wonder he had asked him to use all of his power from the beginning. Alright, now it will be interesting. The soaring sword intent had stimulated Mo Xiang's battling intent to the peak. His condition had never been better, and the blue flame on his body was burning brighter and brighter. Take this. With the blue flame wrapped around his body, Mo Xiang's speed, defense and attack had all reached a whole new level. With a flash, he appeared in front of Yi Chen within a second, throwing out a palm attack. It was indeed the Tiger Soul palm, but it was not over yet. His other hand curved up and slashed down. Holding the sword with both of his hands, Yi Chen's hair danced in the air as he threw out 2 Sky Thunder Cut attacks in a row. Boom. No one knew how many of the Zhenyuan walls had been shattered. Almost half of the people had joined in the training of Zhenyuan walls, but the battle between the two had just begun. Tiger Soul Cross Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The two of them did not have many killing moves, but because they were fast enough, it was overwhelming. Moreover, when the same move was used in different situations, it would have different effects. Every step was shocking. I have already learned the 9th movement of the Green Lotus sword art. But the best steel should be used on the blade, not now. As he fought, Yi Qin thought to himself. If Xiang knew about this, he would be very disappointed, which meant that Yi Qin still had some power left. Back out. Xiang rushed out of the battle and threw out another Tiger Soul cross-cut. Time to end this. Holding the Destruction Sword in his right hand and the Thunder Sword in his left hand, Yi Qin slightly lowered his body, looking like a cheetah that was about to attack. Sky Thunder Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Both swords were thrown out at the same time. Cross cut. In front of everyone's shocked eyes, the bright sword light seemed to have divided the sky into 4 parts, and the crossing point was exactly Xiang, who was still in the sky. The 2 sword lights combined together had not only shattered the cross light, but also blew Xiang into the sky. There was a cross sword mark on his chest with blood splashing everywhere. Yi Qin had won. Until Xiang fell to the ground, the pavilion was silent, not a single sound could be heard. Then no one knew who was the first to let out a gasp, but the pavilion immediately exploded. The discussions were so loud that it was hard to tell who was speaking. Double sword style? What a joke. This is like 2 sword artists attacking Xiang at the same time. Can one really use 2 ace attacks at the same time? Everyone understood that it was easy to use 1 sword with each hand, but it would be extremely hard to bring out one's peak power at the same time, not to mention performing 2 ace attacks. Not to mention the problem of body coordination, it would not be enough for one to do 2 things at the same time, because it would affect one's fighting power as well. Unless one could do 3 things at the same time or 4 things at the same time, they would be able to make better use of it. Otherwise, everyone would be using 2 swords and 2 blades at the same time. Yi Qin had shocked the world with one brilliant move. Double sword style, scary. Li Daoxian could not find words to describe his shock anymore, so he could only use the word scary. Yan Qihua's mouth twitched a little, but he could not say anything. Mu Lingfeng, who had a bit of admiration for Yi Qin, squeezed the teacup in his hand tightly, as if he could not believe his own eyes. Only when the teacup shattered and the tea splashed out did he wake up. I thought I had caught up to him and even had the illusion that I had surpassed him. Tua Baku knew that he was not Yi Qin's opponent, so there was no need to compete. Crawling up from the ground, Xiang looked at Yi Qin blankly, watching that Yi Qin put his sword back into its scabbard with a calm face. The pain in his chest seemed to have been forgotten, and only his qi and blood were boiling. The latter had surprised him too much, so much that he did not know what to feel. Besides the Edict Prince, no one had made him lose so badly. Yi Qin was the second. So, this is your real power, your extraordinary battle skills. Martial arts were important, but so were battle skills. Powerful warriors could even use their battle skills to play a decisive role. Without a doubt, Yi Qin was this kind of person, this kind of sword artist. Chapter 464. Returning the 2 swords to their sheaths, Yi Qin slowly raised his head and looked at Xiang, who was not far away. Xiang's strength was actually very powerful, having long surpassed the boundary of astral-reaching paragons. In other words, even if an extreme astral-reaching expert were equipped with an upper-grade artifact, they would still not be his opponent. This was because Xiang was no longer at the astral-reaching realm. Beyond this realm, he could barely contend against the weakest Sea of Soul realm experts. Naturally, he was not someone an astral-reaching paragons could compare with. Unfortunately, Yi Qin was even more powerful than his opponent. Back on Blue Mountain Island, his battle power was already twice that of an astral-reaching paragons. After that, he had been progressing with every passing second. Not only in terms of basic strength, but also in techniques and sword Dao cultivation base. With the 3 great sword wills gathered in one body, how could he not progress? Staying where he was would be a disgrace. Dual Sword King is the king of dual sword style. His slaughter will targets any living thing. Only he can bring out the dual sword style to its peak. Right now I am merely at the tip of the iceberg. Yi Qin was very clear that he was able to use dual swords, but it was only the basics. Of course, even if it was just the basics, it was still not something that normal people could learn. Normal people would never be able to multitask or even multitask. Besides that, in order to use dual swords, one's soul would have to be more powerful than others. Otherwise, in the long run, it would be very easy to develop schizophrenia. The road I have to walk is still very long. Yi Qin could not help but sigh. Nobody knew why Yi Qin sighed, but under the gentle breeze Yi Qin, who was dressed in blue robes and had a handsome and elegant appearance, gave people a feeling of being alone and admiring himself. Some of the arrogant beauties were mesmerized. Dual sword style is indeed the top battle technique. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Adjusting his qi and blood, Mo Xiang cupped his fists towards Yi Chen with a pale face. Yi Chen nodded and said nothing. After Mo Xiang left the stage, Yi Chen followed him. Today was the second day of the tea gathering. In the first 2 days, the 3 true dragon-level experts would not fight each other. Tomorrow would be the climax of the tea gathering. As for Rakshasa's daughter challenging Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan, it was already against the rules. Jing Aoshuan could reject it until tomorrow. Next, the injured quasi-true dragon rank experts focused on healing their wounds and trying to recover to their peak condition. The ones who went out to spar were the young elites of the first and second level. It was undeniable that the Thunder region, being called the strongest region in the southern sector, was not without reason. Although they did not have as many top warriors as the South Rudra region, which only had 3, their core strength could be said to be frightening. It was 10 times more than the South Rudra region and several times more than the other regions. Floating Light region and Gold Sand region were a bit weaker than the Thunder region, but they were still powerful. Any random young elite from them would be an expert. Tua Baku shook his head. If South Rudra region wants to get rid of its outer appearance as a weak region, it will not be enough with just us. We can guarantee our position for the next few rounds, but after that we will not participate anymore. Yi Chen said, the requirements for the tea gathering are too high. Otherwise it would be better to bring more people. You're right. Let them see the gap between them and the outside world. Only then will they disregard everything and work hard, racing against time. Everything required fighting spirit. If one did not interact with the outside world for a long time, his fighting spirit would disappear, and he would not be able to maintain his peak condition. As a result, his progress would naturally slow down. There were many geniuses in the world, but how many of them were stuck in one place and ended up being mediocre for the rest of their lives? The two would talk occasionally, but most of the time they would be watching the battles. Although the low-level battles were not that interesting, once one calmed down, they would be able to see their own shortcomings from the others. For example, Yi Chen had watched dozens of young warriors who had mastered the wood mentality battle, so he was able to comprehend the 9th movement of the Green Lotus sword art. If he were to try to comprehend it by himself, it would take him at least 10 times more time. This was the importance of learning from others, and also the other meaning of the tea gathering. The sun went down and the night arrived. When the darkness disappeared, it was already the morning of the second day. South Rudra region's Sikong Sheng would like to learn from Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. When the first beam of sunlight shone down from the sky, a voice that was not loud shocked everyone. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. It was Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng wants to challenge the Edict Prince? The Edict Prince is the number 1 warrior of the Floating Light region, and Lu Hun is the number 2. Sikong Sheng had just lost to Lu Hun yesterday, so how could he beat the Edict Prince? You can't say it like that. The Edict Prince was indeed the number 1 warrior of the Floating Light region 2 years ago. But, the Edict Prince from 2 years ago was not much different from the current dragon-level warriors. Who knows if he has made any progress, or if his progress was not as big as expected. It is not impossible, but it is very small. While everyone was discussing, the black-robed Sikong Sheng flew out and stood in the center of the stage, a threatening cold light flickering in his eyes. Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan was slightly startled, as if he didn't expect that the first one to challenge him would be Sikong Sheng. He thought that in this tea gathering, it would still be Jing Aoshuan or Astral Spirit's son who would spar with him. Uxin, who was standing on the side, said, "Let me deal with him." Li Xiaoyan smiled lightly, "No need. It seems like they are doubting my strength, thinking that I have not made much progress in the past 2 years." After finishing his words, he patted Uxin's soft little hand, stood up, and walked towards the spacious stage. Li Xiaoyan's clothes were just like his name, full of a mysterious aura. The elegant 7-star robe made him look even more carefree. Approaching the center of the stage, a bright silver iron fan appeared in Li Xiaoyan's hand, and a wave of great weapon vibration spread out. Yi Chen thought to himself, there are not many people who use a fan as a weapon, and fan-type weapons are even rarer. But it is because of this that it is so hard to deal with. Boom. Waiting until Li Xiaoyan was 100 meters away from him, Sikong Sheng made his move. It was an extremely horrifying low-rank profound sense martial art, earth core sinking. As the earth core sinking was performed, an endless gravitational force landed on Li Xiaoyan's body, forcing him to be unable to move. Of course, Li Xiaoyan did not plan to move at all. Dragon Fan Dance. Facing Sikong Sheng's ace attack, Li Xiaoyun rubbed his thumb, and the bright silver iron fan opened up like a peacock opening its tail. He then waved it towards the right, drawing a bright silver trail in the air. Oh, oh, oh. This fan seemed to have gathered all the wind yuan qi in the world, and a dragon-like tornado appeared out of nowhere, attacking towards Xikong Sheng. Xikong Sheng's pupils shrank. He did not care about normal tornadoes, but the one Li Xiaoyun had thrown out was extraordinarily powerful. It could easily shatter mountains, and that dragon-like body was shining with a crystal light, which was an extremely condensed phenomenon. The fist power landed on the tornado, and 30% of its power was immediately cancelled out by the tornado's rotating power. The remaining 70% could not stop the tornado at all. Boom, boom. Since one punch was not enough, Xikong Sheng threw out 2 more punches, and the tornado disappeared right away. Pear flower dance. Li Xiaoyun had a smile on his face as he walked over step by step. He waved the iron fan in his hand slightly, and a pear flower-shaped tornado shot towards Xikong Sheng. Xikong Sheng crossed both of his arms and was blown away. Scythe blade dance. Another 2 scythe-like wind blades were thrown out. If it were released by normal people, it would be very easy for them to dodge. However, it was performed by Li Xiaoyun, and it was just that magical. Xikong Sheng had only dodged the first one, but was blown away by the second one, with blood dripping down from the corner of his mouth. Too powerful. They are not even at the same level. Who said that the Edict Prince did not improve enough? In my opinion, even the Jing Princess would not be his opponent. I did not expect the Edict Prince to be this powerful. Xikong Sheng, who was at the quasi-true dragon level, did not even have the power to fight back, and the Edict Prince did not even get serious. At first, I thought that the 3 true dragon level experts were only a bit stronger than the quasi-true dragon level experts. But now, it seems like they are not just a bit stronger but a whole level stronger. Everyone was shocked by the Edict Prince's power, including the people of South Rudra region. Tua Baku smacked his lips, his face dumbfounded. How was this a spar? One was blown away even after going all out, while the other was playing it down with a smile on his face. However, the might he had displayed while playing it down was shocking. This was the Edict Prince's strength. Before the Thunder Princess became famous, he was the #1 expert of the Southern Rudra region. Even now, a lot of people believed that the Edict Prince was still the #1 expert, and the Thunder Princess and Astral Spirit Son were slightly inferior. Of course, whether it was true or not would have to be observed. Who knew how much of the Thunder Princess's strength had been used? As for the Astral Spirit Son, he had not made a single move from the beginning to the end. He is indeed very powerful. Yi Chen had never felt threatened by anyone of the same generation, not even when he was facing Xikong Sheng in the Hidden Dragon rank competition. However, at this moment he felt the terror of the Edict Prince. He was clear that he had no choice but to go all out. Just when everyone thought that Xikong Sheng was about to lose the spar, an evil chi suddenly erupted from his body. A berserk martial will erupted, covering the entire Pointer River stage and the majority of the beautiful garden. This martial will was not an ordinary one. It was an evil martial will. This is the ace I left behind. Now I will use it on you. Let's see how you can endure it. Xikong Sheng punched toward Li Xiaoyun, his evil intent wreaking havoc. Evil martial will. Not bad, but its level is too low. Wait until you condense a true evil soul, then perhaps you will be able to fight against me. But not now. Li Xiaoyun shook his head. The iron fan in his hand spun and shook. Fan dance 7-star kill. Puchi. 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 7 cold stars appeared around Xikong Sheng's body. The 7 cold stars were connected to each other, looking like the Big Dipper 7 stars shining brightly. Puchi. Puchi. Puking out a huge amount of blood, the evil intent on Xikong Sheng's body froze for a second before he was blown backward. Li Xiaoyun had won. All the people who were watching the battle in the pavilion were shocked. Xikong Sheng had used his most powerful ace, the ace he would rather lose to Lu Hun than expose, the evil martial will. He thought that it would be enough to fight against the Edict Prince, but it was still not enough. The Edict Prince only needed to get slightly serious to defeat him easily. In everyone's eyes, the Edict Prince, Li Xiaoyun, seemed to be standing on top of a mountain, looking down at the world. He waved the iron fan in his hand, waving it in the sky. Chapter 465. Although Xikong Sheng lost to Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun, he is not simple either. He actually hid the evil will. He should have comprehended it from the evil king, right? Recovering from his thoughts, Tuabaku said to Yi Qin. Yi Qin nodded. There were many Daos that had separated from the martial Dao, such as the Sword Dao, Demonic Dao, Blade Dao, and naturally the Evil Dao. The Evil Dao's position was even higher than the Blade Dao, and was equivalent to the Sword Dao and Demonic Dao. The evil will it had evolved from was somewhat similar to the Demonic Dao, but it was a bit more gentle, not as unbridled, cruel, and cold-blooded. The fact that Sikong Sheng could comprehend the evil will was enough to prove his comprehension ability. However, compared to the Edict Prince, he was still a bit too naive. The latter had become famous before anyone here. Even with the evil will, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. How could this so-called Edict Prince be so powerful? The 6th and 7th Knights exchanged a glance. In the Evil King Pavilion, only the 1st and 4th Knights, Sikong Sheng, had comprehended the evil will. The others didn't. This was also the reason why the Evil King valued Sikong Sheng so much. With the evil will, even if Sikong Sheng didn't condense a true evil soul, his offensive power would still surpass the low-grade martial spirit. However, he still couldn't withstand a single blow. Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan was too frightening. The battle between Edict Prince and Sikong Sheng had caused too much of a commotion, to the point that the battles of the fake dragon level didn't attract much attention. Only when the battle of the quasi-dragon level began did some people calm down. If the first 2 days of the tea gathering were the appetizers, then the 3rd day would be the main meal. The participants of the battle were all experts above the fake dragon level. Right now, it was Gold Sand Region's Luo Shanv and Floating Light Region's Lu Hun. Lu Hun was very powerful, but Luo Shanv was even more powerful. After 100 moves, she defeated Lu Hun. After that, it was the second battle between Tuabaku and Emosiang. In this battle, Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan had said that no lives could be lost. If they could stop in time, it would be best if they could. If they still couldn't decide the winner, then it would still be a draw. Once the battle had begun, Tuabaku had released his huge lizard shadow while Emosiang's body started to burn with a blue chi flow. The two were ready to use all of their power right from the beginning. Tuabaku's giant lizard shadow was good at both offense and defense, without any weakness. Emosiang's speed, defense, and attack had been doubled. His battling power was horrifying and he was more focused on attacking. But eventually Tuabaku lost. He had not lost in terms of power but in terms of endurance. The huge lizard shadow consumed a lot of Zhen Yuan. After 1,000 attacks, the Zhen Yuan inside his body had been completely emptied. Of course, Emosiang was not any better. After beating Tuabaku, he was soaked in sweat, and his legs had even gone soft. Then it was time for Lu Hun's battle. He was not wounded that badly, and Tuabaku and Emosiang had been battling for a long time, which gave him plenty of time to recover. Plus, as a true dragon-level martial genius, the pellets provided by the martial institutions were not normal, and could not be bought even with spirit stones. This was also the reason why everyone could recover so fast during the tea gathering. Lu Hun's opponent was Murong Qingqing. As for Sikong Sheng, he had not fully recovered yet. Murong Qingqing's attacking power was not that powerful, which was below average among the true dragon-level warriors. On the other hand, Lu Hun's defense was very powerful. Even if it was not number 1, it would be number 2. Therefore, this battle was extremely tough and no one could do anything to the other. Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan could only announce it as a draw. Chu Zhongtian, I have not seen you make a move yet. I would like to see it for myself. After Sikong Sheng challenged the Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan, another bomb was dropped on the stage. Yi Chen was going to challenge the astral spirit's son, Chu Zhongtian. Wearing blue robes and with a long sword on his waist, Yi Chen stood on the stage and looked at the astral spirit's son, Chu Zhongtian. Chu Zhongtian frowned slightly, seeming to be unhappy as he said lightly, "You better back off. There is no need for a battle between you and me." Why doesn't the astral spirit's son accept the challenge? Earlier, Luo Shanv challenged Princess Jing, and Sikong Sheng challenged the Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. Both of them accepted the challenge. Haven't you seen it? The astral spirit's son thinks that Yi Chen is not his opponent, and he doesn't want to fight. Look at his face. Those with good eyesight were able to see the blood on the first prick. This is a bit too much. Even if Yi Chen is not as powerful as him, there is no need for him to not accept the challenge. The astral spirit's son has always been like this. He is arrogant and does whatever he wants. But he does have the right to be arrogant. I wonder how Yi Chen is going to deal with this. His dual sword style should not be underestimated. He might have a chance. Yi Chen was not angry. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You don't dare to accept the challenge? Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, Chu Zhongtian lowered his eyes. You still don't understand what I'm saying? You are not my opponent. The so-called dual sword style is nothing in front of me. So, I don't need to waste my time on you. Yi Chen smiled, but there was a hint of weirdness in his smile. Seeming to feel that Chu Zhongtian had spoken, Luo Shan stood up. Yi Chen, since my head disciple doesn't want to fight, why don't I spar with you for a bit? No need. He will come out. If the opponent did not want to come out, then he would fight him. Taking out the thunder sword, Yi Chen threw out a sky thunder cut toward the pavilion where the astral spirit sun was. This sky thunder cut was definitely not ordinary because it contained a peak-level sword spirit sword intent, which was much more powerful than the one he had used against Mo Xiang. Luo Shan had not expected that Yi Chen would attack just like that. Her eyebrows creased as she tried to defend against the sword light with a serious expression. However, her power was only at the same level as Mo Xiang's. How could she possibly defend against this sky thunder cut? A purple light flashed as her whole body was blown away, and the pavilion was about to be cut into two. Swoosh. The sword light disappeared as Chu Zhongtian had shattered it with a single punch. After throwing out this punch, Chu Zhongtian slowly stood up. As he stood up, the space within a radius of tens of meters, including the pavilion, seemed to be shaking, as if it could not withstand the pressure of Chu Zhongtian's aura. Your power is indeed not bad, but my current level is still too early for you. Pausing for a while, Chu Zhongtian continued, since you insist on fighting with me, I will fulfill your wish. Let me warn you first, this battle will be very fast. Don't hold any hope. Although Chu Zhongtian's attitude was arrogant, it had undoubtedly ignited the passion of everyone present, including Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan and Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. They all attached great importance to this battle, because they could vaguely see the astral spirit sun's power. As long as you're willing to fight, it's fine. As for the result, you don't need to worry about it, because you will find that the result is not within your expectations. Yi Chen's voice was very calm. Chu Zhongtian stared at Yi Chen, the corner of his mouth twitching. In the past year, I fought with 13 spirit realm experts. Among them I've killed 2, defeated 7, and fought 4 to a draw. Among them there was a swordsman. While speaking, Chu Zhongtian took out his weapon, a dark red mace with many sections connected to each other. It was very heavy with a smooth tip. Everyone present could not suppress their astonishment. They all knew that the astral spirit sun had fought with spirit realm experts, but no one knew that he had fought with as many as 13, and 2 of them had died in his hands. Moreover, he had defeated 7. This result was enough to shock the world. Looking at Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian said, against you, 60% of my power is enough. While speaking, the mace in his hand ignited a dark red air current that was like a mist. As soon as it came in contact with the air, a large area immediately turned into a vacuum. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. Although the astral spirit sun was arrogant, his strength was not to be underestimated. The true yuan qi that was emitted had burned the air, which meant that the opponent's true yuan had reached an unimaginable level. At least, he had never seen anyone's true yuan that could directly evaporate the air, not to mention the true yuan qi that was emitted. Just a strand of true yuan qi was already so frightening. Then what about true yuan? It should be at least several times stronger than true yuan qi. Take my mace first. From afar, Chu Zhongtian waved his mace. A dark red shadow tore through the sky, carrying a mountain-shattering momentum as it attacked toward Yi Chen. What harm is there in taking your mace? Yi Chen raised the thunder sword and slashed out. Rumble. It was just a normal exchange between the two, but the shockwave created was far more powerful than any battle between quasi-true Dragon Realm experts. Countless true yuan barriers were shattered. Not bad, barely enough to pique my interest. No one saw how Chu Zhongtian moved. By the time his voice arrived, he had already arrived in front of Yi Chen and attacked 46 times. Each attack was extremely powerful, as if there was a mountain compressed within. What was more frightening was that the person holding the mace was even more powerful than a mountain. Boom 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 boom, shockwaves suddenly exploded on the open field. Within the shockwaves, mace shadows flew everywhere and sword chi crisscrossed. If not for the thunder pattern iron's restriction power protecting it, it would have been torn apart countless times already. Nearly 400 people opened their eyes wide, wanting to see the exchange between the two clearly. However, those who could clearly see the battle could be counted on one hand. The rest of the people were in a daze and could not see anything clearly. Fuck. What kind of speed is this? What kind of attacking power is this? Just the shockwave alone is enough to tear me into pieces. It's like fighting in a superstorm. The more they could not see clearly, the more excited they became. Because they could not see clearly, it meant how terrifying the battle between the two was. It was a battle beyond their imagination. They admired Yi Qin from the bottom of their hearts for being able to last this long. But at the same time, they could not help but gasp at Astral Spirit Sun's power. This was 60% of his power, and if he were to use all of it, it would be enough to turn the sky upside down. In the center of the expanding shockwaves, Yi Qin slashed Chu Zhongtian's shadow into pieces. His expression did not change as he turned around to defend against the real attack. The sword and the talisman clashed. The blue sword Qi and the dark red talisman shadow clashed together, creating a spiral-shaped explosion. 90% of the Zhenyuan barrier was shattered instantly, and a lot of people puked out blood. They were blown out of the stage, their faces pale. Let's go to the sky. Yi Qin shot up into the sky. Chapter 466. Chu Zhongtian sneered and chased after him with his dark red rapier. The two, one in front and one behind, were like two beams of aurora, one blue and one red. Up in the sky, the two of them were no longer restrained. Both of them raised their speed to a new height. Two beams of aurora kept clashing against each other, and shockwaves rippled out from their collisions. The blue and red shockwaves formed a marvelous sight in the sky above Thunder City. Swish! After another clash, the two retreated several hundred meters away from each other. I admit that your strength is a bit higher than I had imagined. The two's exchange just now was too fast, and it was purely a battle of speed. Therefore Chu Zhongtian did not use any of his powerful moves. Yi Qin glanced at the dark red rapier in Chu Zhongtian's hand and said indifferently, "This is just the beginning. Actually, you were testing my strength and I was also testing yours. Without sufficient strength, I might not be able to use my full strength." Although the two's tone was not high, under the amplification of Zhenyuan, it could be heard dozens of li away. Hearing Yi Qin's reply, everyone was dumbfounded. Earlier, Astral Spirit Sun had said that Yi Qin was not worthy of exchanging pointers with him, and that he could defeat him with only 60% of his strength. Who would have thought that Yi Qin also had the same thought, thinking that Astral Spirit Sun would not use his full strength if he did not display his strength? My God, is this really Yi Qin's first time participating in the tea gathering? Why do I feel that he is treating himself as a true dragon-level expert? Experts all have the bearing of an expert. If they can save some strength, they will. Yi Qin's words made the spectators within dozens of li excited. They knew that this exchange would not be simple. Chu Zhongtian's expression turned slightly cold. Be careful of your tongue being cut by the wind. It won't be too late to talk after receiving one of my moves. I'll accompany you to the end. The sword intent emitted from Yi Qin's body seemed to have materialized. The two looked at each other from a distance. Their majestic auras clashed, causing hurricanes to blow up in the sky and clouds to gather and disperse. Almost at the same time, the two moved, charging straight at each other. Boom! The two objects approached each other at an extreme speed. The space between them could not bear the pressure and exploded. Fragmentation mace. On the way, the dark red mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand became brighter and brighter. Specks of dust floated around the mace. These specks of dust flickered with a dreamy light from time to time, as if they were specks of dust compressed from gems. Turning the macroscopic into the microscopic, what a profound technique. Amidst the extreme speed, Yi Qin felt as if time had stopped. He looked at the treasured mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand and the dreamy dust surrounding it. He knew that this move was definitely not ordinary, and it probably had a different kind of destructive power. Destruction Sword Intent, Sky Thunder Cut. Pouring the Destruction Sword Intent into the Thunder Sword, Yi Qin raised the sword high and hacked out, leaving a bright arc of light in the air. Dong! Pitter-patter. The sword and the talisman clashed. First there was a loud sound, followed by countless small explosions. Between the two of them, countless small fireworks exploded. You actually broke my fragmentation mace. While being blown away by the shockwave, Chu Zhongtian's pupils shrank. As the user of the fragmentation mace, only he knew how powerful this move was. Those specks of dust might not seem to have any destructive power, but if one underestimated them and allowed them to get close to the body, no matter how strong one's defense was, one would still be blown half to death. That was because every speck of dust contained a lot of Zhenyuan, and the moment it exploded, it would be extremely terrifying. However, Yi Qin had blocked his attack and detonated the specks of dust, causing the fragmentation mace to fail to achieve its intended effect. Very good, you have the qualifications to make me take you seriously. Chu Zhongtian stopped his body and stepped into the air. Dragging his long sword backward, Yi Chen stopped as well. He looked up and said, "If you have any powerful attacks or hidden power, just use them all. In front of me you have no advantage at all." "Ah, don't be so full of yourself. This fragmentation mace isn't my strongest move. Moreover, I feel that it's time to increase my battle power." As he spoke, an extremely dazzling yet not glaring dark red light burst out from Chu Zhongtian's body. His entire body seemed to be made of diamond, because how could a human's body endure such pure Zhenyuan? The purity of this Zhenyuan surpassed everyone else's. Fire spirit body wrong? Earth spirit body wrong as well? Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun were guessing astral spirit sun's constitution. They had never fought with this person before, so they knew very little about him. They only knew that he had the strength to kill ordinary spirit warriors. This couldn't be faked and no one would do so. However, neither the fire spirit body nor the earth spirit body were this tyrannical. The latter's constitution seemed to have surpassed the elemental spirit body, which was why he could endure purer and more explosive Zhenyuan. Fortunately, he hadn't condensed a true martial soul. Otherwise he would be even more frightening. The superiority of innate talent could sometimes obliterate a lifetime's worth of effort. "Yi Chen, receive this mace of mine, and I'll admit that you're my opponent." Although Chu Zhongtian had turned serious, there were degrees of seriousness. Evidently, this was only ordinary seriousness. Can Yi Chen do it? The Zhenyuan bursting out of astral spirit sun's body is already not inferior to any spirit warrior. It's just that the quantity is a bit smaller. Yeah. This is my first time seeing an astral reaching expert with Sea of Soul Realm Zhenyuan. Everyone knew how frightening astral spirit sun was. Therefore they were more partial to him. After all, the former was famous here, while Yi Chen had no fame in the southern sector. Yi Chen didn't reply, nor did he explain. He only made a single movement, which was to return the thunder sword to its sheath. Then, his body faintly trembled, like a peerless sword shaking off the dust on its body, once again blossoming with a resplendent radiance. Bang! The soaring sword intent was as viscous as water, soaring straight into the clouds. The sea of clouds was torn apart, revealing a spiral-shaped hole. Stunning sky was torn apart, and the purest yuan qi inside couldn't leak out, completely sealed by the sword intent. To tear apart stunning sky by relying on sword intent alone, how powerful was this sword intent? Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun raised his head, his eyes squinting into a line as he said word by word, "Quasi-Master Sword Intent." Quasi-Master Sword Intent and Master Sword Intent had similar foundations, but the latter blossomed with Sword Intent radiance. In other words, as long as the Quasi-Master Sword Intent blossomed with radiance, it would immediately advance to Master Sword Intent. However, in any case, Quasi-Master Sword Intent was already the strongest sword intent under Master Grade. In terms of might, it was more or less the same as Master Grade Martial Will. Chu Zhongtian was stunned, and his expression immediately turned gloomy. He originally thought that exchanging pointers with the opponent was already giving him a lot of face. But now the situation seemed to have reversed. The opponent exchanging pointers with him was also giving him face, and it turned into him challenging the opponent, while the latter's sword intent continued to rise. "Take my attack." Tyrant Dragon Rapier Destruction. His figure flashed as Chu Zhongtian grabbed the dark red rapier with both of his hands, exploding with speed. A tangible light shot out from Yi Chen's eyes as he pulled out the destruction sword with his right hand and held the thunder sword's hilt with his left hand, accumulating power and lowering his center of gravity. Whoosh! Before Chu Zhongtian arrived, the strong wind had already blown Yi Chen's long black hair into the air, making it look like a black waterfall. Coupled with his handsome and elegant face, he looked like a sword artist from a painting. Arriving above Yi Chen in an instant, Chu Zhongtian raised the rapier in his hand high up. A blazing dark red stream shot out like a dark red demonic dragon, making him look like a deity. One was extremely moving, the other extremely calm. It formed a miraculous scene where even the wind stopped moving. Break! Chu Zhongtian roared and hacked down with the rapier. Chop! Yi Chen waved his left and right hands at the same time. Two sword lights slashed out, interweaving into an irregular cross shape, dividing the space in front of him into four parts. Tyrant Dragon Rapier Destruction. Sky Thunder Cut, Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The two killing moves collided. The crowd could not hear anything at all. They could only see a huge mottled light ball wrapping around the two, making it impossible to see their figures. Boom! A dark red demonic dragon rushed out and tore the light ball apart. Puchi! A sword mark appeared on the other side of the light ball as sword lights soared into the sky. The next moment, a shockwave spread out like a flash flood. In the blink of an eye, it covered the sky of dozens of li. At the center of the shockwave, a dark red and dark blue light beam pierced through the clouds and soared into the sky. Look, the buildings outside the splendid garden are weathering. The streets are also sinking. Someone saw a shocking scene. The sturdy buildings made of thunder-veined stones had turned into fine sand, scattering with a breeze. It filled the entire sky, and the streets were also filled with dust and sinking rapidly. The destructive power created by the exchange between the two shocked everyone once again. Not only were the spectators of the younger generation shocked, even the experts in Thunder City were shocked. What level of battle could affect such a large area? Was the level of this year's tea gathering really that high? The corner of Jing Aoshuan's mouth twitched. Fortunately, the splendid garden was protected by a restrictive power. Otherwise, under this attack, the entire garden would have been obliterated. As for the buildings outside the garden, they were not residential buildings. Since the martial tea gathering was taking place, there was no one there. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have died under the aftermath? In the sky, Chu Zhongtian's body flew backwards. The clothes on his chest had a crisscrossed sword mark, revealing his skin and muscles. His skin and muscles did not suffer any injuries, only 2 white marks were left, and his muscles were slightly dented. However, his expression was one of extreme anger, as if his dignity had been challenged. An even more terrifying aura erupted from his body, boiling wantonly. As his opponent, Yi Chen only took 3 steps back before stopping his body and looking at the retreating Chu Zhongtian with an indifferent expression. Not only is his Zhen Yuan powerful, his physical body is also terrifyingly strong. Even the dual sword style couldn't hurt him. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The power of the dual sword style was obvious to all. When one's power was raised to the same level, the power of the dual sword style would be equivalent to a profound martial skill at 40% completion. And this was because Yi Chen had only learned the basics of the dual sword style. Even so, it was still extremely powerful. Chapter 467. Bus. Stamping his foot in the void, a circular ripple spread out, and Chu Zhongtian forcibly stabilized his body. He calmed his boiling blood and qi, then looked straight at Yi Chen, who was 1,000 meters away, and coldly said, "You are the first astral-reaching expert to force me back. You can be proud of yourself. However, that's all. Next, I will suppress you in all aspects until I obtain victory. You'd better prepare yourself." Down below, South Rudra region's people creased their brows. This astral spirit son was too arrogant. In the exchange just now, everyone could see that Yi Chen had the absolute upper hand. Although they didn't know why he hadn't injured astral spirit son, Yi Chen's strength had already explained everything. Suppress me in all aspects? Yi Chen shook his head. No, you can't do it. Chu Zhongtian faintly smiled. Perhaps you think I'm arrogant and egotistical. But when I display my ultimate power before you, you'll know your own ignorance. Ultimate power. The spectators below didn't pay attention to Chu Zhongtian's tone and attitude. Instead, their curiosity was piqued by his last words. What was ultimate power? Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun exchanged a glance. In truth, although the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chen was world-shaking, it wasn't enough to move them. But now it seemed like Chu Zhongtian was still concealing his strength. They wondered if Yi Chen had any other trump cards. Hearing these words, Yi Chen's gaze flickered. At this point, it was almost time for both sides to reveal their true strength. Letting out a light breath, Yi Chen said, "Ignorance is the language of gods." Saying the word, ignorance, means that your self-confidence is inflating. Very well, let me see your ultimate power. The two confronted each other with intense battle intent. Whether I'm ignorant or not, let me show you. Glancing at Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian closed his eyes and relaxed his body to its most natural state. He then spread his arms as if embracing the sun. Zhen Yuan full release. Chu Zhongtian's relaxed body suddenly tightened. An extremely frightening and overbearing aura burst out from his body. The moment this aura burst out, every single pore on Chu Zhongtian's body exuded dark red streams of air. The streams of air curled up like smoke and mist. That was not all. The streams of air suddenly moved at a high speed, turning from a mist to a crystalline shape. They were like strands of dark red silk that were tens of thousands of years old. Not even treasured weapons could cut them. It must be known that the number of dark red crystal threads that were flowing out from Chu Zhongtian's body was more than 10 million. At that moment, the sun in the sky lost its color, and the whole world seemed to have turned black and white. Only the place where Chu Zhongtian stood had bright colors, and the color dyed the space red. Rumble. The ultra-high density of true essence immediately caused the world to change. In the sky above, dark clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed and wind and rain swayed. Within Thunder City, hurricanes swept out without rhyme or reason, and the hurricanes battered towards all directions. The front of the hurricanes even converged into a wave of air that broke and snapped some flagpoles that were stuck at the entrance of the streets. On the mountain river platform, everyone felt it the most. In their eyes, the weather seemed to have changed from a sunny summer to a rainy season. The surroundings were gray and gloomy, and Chu Zhongtian, who was high up in the sky, had turned the place he was in into a dark red world. He was the king of that world. This? Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan's eyes were filled with bewilderment. What kind of physique can give birth to such a frightening Zhen Yuan? Li Xiaoyan thought hard. Jing Aoshuan said solemnly, a dark red Zhen Yuan, a physique that surpasses the attribute of a spirit body. Could it be the evil spirit body? The moment the words evil spirit body came out, even Jing Aoshuan, who mentioned the evil spirit body, had a solemn expression, not to mention Li Xiaoyan. Who would have thought that the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years would be born? This is truly a peak era. From the looks of it, what Chu Zhongtian has is not Zhen Yuan, but evil Yuan, which is above Zhen Yuan and belongs to the evil spirit body. Ha ha ha. A thunderous laughter came from the sky, and it came from Chu Zhongtian. My physique is the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years, and what I cultivate is not Zhen Yuan but evil Yuan, which is several times stronger than Zhen Yuan. One move, and I can defeat you. Evil spirit body, so that's how it is. Yi Chen finally understood why Chu Zhongtian's Zhen Yuan was so pure and frightening. The combination of two Yuan Qis with different attributes was called astral Qi. Similarly, the combination of two Zhen Yuan with different attributes was called evil Yuan. The might of astral Qi was several times stronger than ordinary Yuan Qi, and evil Yuan was naturally several times stronger than Zhen Yuan. Normally speaking, it was impossible for humans to have astral essence. It was not only because of the endurance of the body, but also because of the conflicting attributes. Humans were not like nature. Nature could allow two different attributes of origin Qi to fuse together, but humans could not. Therefore, if one wanted to have astral essence, it was impossible to rely on artificial means. The only way was to rely on talent. And this talent was precisely the evil spirit body. Those who possessed the evil spirit body were born with a compound attribute, be it metal and wind, wood and water, fire and earth, and so on. Possessing any one of these compound attributes meant that one could combine the two corresponding types of true essence together to form astral essence. If his guess was correct, then Chu Zhongtian's astral essence should be a combination of fire attribute true essence and earth attribute true essence. This was called fire-earth astral essence, also known as fire-earth astral essence. Of course, although the evil spirit body was called a spirit body, it was actually different from a spirit body. Those with a single attribute spirit body were most proficient in cultivating the corresponding Zhen Yuan, and could achieve twice the result with half the effort or even several times. The same was true for comprehending concepts and profound meanings, such as Jing Aoshuan's thunder spirit body. But the evil spirit body was not a combination of two different attributes, otherwise it would be several times more terrifying, and even Yi Chen would be killed in a second. The universe seemed to limit the excessively powerful constitution. The evil spirit body was a combination of two relatively compatible attributes. Individually, it was much weaker than an attribute spirit body. Only by combining them could it surpass an attribute spirit body. In other words, Chu Zhongtian's evil spirit body was not a combination of fire and earth spirit bodies, but a combination of two attributes that were slightly weaker than an attribute spirit body. There was no doubt about this. In any case, the combination of the two Zhen Yuan was too powerful. The Zhen Yuan's power increased several times, and so did the quality. In the same environment, Chu Zhongtian's battle strength was several times stronger than a martial artist of the same realm. This was Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength. What? Evil spirit body. Evil spirit body. Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength is actually this. It is said that the evil spirit body has not appeared for nearly 5,000 years, and in the past, it was rare to see one in 10,000 years. Who would have thought that it would appear in advance, and this person is Chu Zhongtian? If Chu Zhongtian did not say it, many people would not have thought of it. The evil spirit body was too mysterious, and they had only heard some ancient rumors. They did not know whether it was true or not, so they naturally would not think about it in this direction. But now Chu Zhongtian took the initiative to say it. Recalling the rumors about the evil spirit body, their eyes turned sluggish, filled with disbelief. They did not know how powerful the evil spirit body was. They only knew that every time an evil spirit body appeared, it would set off a battle of geniuses that affected the whole continent. At this time, the number of geniuses on the continent was much higher than usual, and the evil spirit body was one of the kings among the many talents, the apex talent. The eyes could see it and they could even feel it. It made the sword intent become real. Chapter 468. Master-level sword intent. Li Xiaoyan suddenly stood up, his face full of shock. Jing Aoshuan looked at the sword intent radiance in a daze, then let out a breath and said, "Judging from this aspect alone, he is definitely the number one since the ancient times. In the peak era, all kinds of body types have appeared. Now it is time for the soul and will geniuses to appear." Every time the peak era arrived, the warriors in the continent would have a feast for their eyes, because all kinds of talents that had appeared in the history would appear one after another. For example, the elemental spirit body, the evil spirit body, and the talent in wool like Yi Qin. It was said that there were also many other talents that were not inferior to the others, such as the innate great Dharma body, which was rarely seen in 100,000 years. People with such Dharma bodies would have Jin Yuan 10 times or even dozens of times more than ordinary people. As long as these people did not die, their achievements would be shocking. The peak era. The competition has never been so intense. Li Xiaoyan's eyes were filled with passion. That kind of passion was something that ordinary people could not describe. They did not understand the feeling of standing at the peak. Jing Aoshuan, originally I only wanted to exchange pointers with you. There was no need for a winner or loser. But now I've changed my mind. You, me, and the two of them, we need to have a winner or loser. Only a winner or loser can make all of us improve. Exchanging pointers will not solve any big problems. Jing Aoshuan said lightly, "This is also what I wanted to say. In the future competition among the geniuses of the continent, only one person can stand at the peak and look down on the whole world." Boom. While the two were talking, Chu Zhongtian threw out his most powerful attack toward Yi Qin. It was still the Tyrant Dragon Destruction, but it was twice as powerful as before. The dark red demonic dragon Qi almost shattered the void as it slashed down. Sky Thunder Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The light on Yi Qin's forehead did not dissipate as he held the Thunder Sword in his left hand and the Destruction Sword in his right hand. The two swords slashed toward the same point, crisscrossing and bursting out. A dreamy sword intent radiance shot out like a silver galaxy in the sky, deep and unshakable. Rumble. This time the two of them were fighting at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Destructive energy shockwaves radiated out, creating a mottled light ball with a diameter of several tens of meters. The light ball rapidly expanded in a spiral shape, and soon became several miles in size. Finally, it exploded, shaking the world and causing the air to flow more than 1,000 times faster. Evil spirit body is also several times stronger than ordinary people. You can't hurt me. Chu Zhongtian was sent flying. His face was filled with shock at first, and then he roared in anger. He didn't expect that Yi Qin's battle prowess would rise to such an extent. Not only did Yi Qin suppress him, but he also sent him flying again. This was something he didn't expect at all. If one time isn't enough, then 10 times. Yi Qin only took half a step back. After that, he turned around and rushed forward, displaying the twin sword style once again. Clang. The intersecting sword light exploded in front of Chu Zhongtian, and the dark red rapier almost flew out of his hand. This attack made Chu Zhongtian fly back even faster. Every time a circular shockwave appeared around his body, his flying speed would increase by 1-fold. 3 times, which meant 3 times the speed of sound. This might be the fastest backward speed in a battle between astral-reaching realm experts. Damn it, stop right there. Chu Zhongtian's body shook violently, and the air behind him exploded. The resulting explosive power cancelled out the power of flying back, and he seized the opportunity to stop himself from flying back. Ignoring his boiling qi and blood, Chu Zhongtian's evil yuan exploded, dodging Yi Qin's third attack. Such a fast speed. This time Yi Qin was a bit surprised. It seemed like the evil Yuan had not only increased Chu Zhongtian's battle prowess, but it had also increased his defense and speed to an unimaginable level. Even if he was very arrogant, Yi Chen wouldn't be able to beat him quickly. No, it would be very difficult to beat him down. He was like a cockroach that couldn't be beaten. Fragmenting rapier. A fine dust appeared, and as Chu Zhongtian dodged, he threw out a rapier attack at Yi Chen. The thunder sword in his left hand sliced out in the opposite direction, and Yi Chen blocked out Chu Zhongtian's attack. He even sent a part of the energy back, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Hee. Chu Zhongtian sneered as he formed a fist with his left hand and punched out, shattering the energy wave. Down below, Tuabaku mumbled to himself, "This battle is not going to be that easy to decide." He naturally knew that Yi Chen was more powerful, but it didn't mean that Chu Zhongtian was like a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. The difference between the two was only a thin line. Plus, Chu Zhongtian's speed and defense were so freakish, which cancelled out Yi Chen's advantage. The others were thinking the same thing as Tuabaku. In fact, when Yi Chen exploded with his master-level sword intent, it was what shocked them the most, and they would never be able to forget it. Chin 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 chin. The two exchanged blows in the sky, and the sparks from the collision of their weapons never stopped. Whenever one side lit up, the other side would appear as well. Perhaps, only by directly hitting his body would I be able to wound him. After forcing back Chu Zhongtian with one sword attack, Yi Chen thought to himself. You are able to raise your sword intense power to master level, which is indeed very powerful. Even I have to admire you. But, with the evil spirit body, I am unbeatable. Even two of you together would not be enough. Chu Zhongtian had already understood that wanting to beat Yi Chen beautifully was just a pipe dream. Right now, the only thing he could do was to exhaust his opponent's power and use a prolonged battle to defeat him. Is that so? Yi Chen glanced at the corner of his eyes, and his figure instantly appeared on the right side of Chu Zhongtian. The light he brought up was like a sword light, giving people the illusion that he was using his body to perform a sword art. What kind of step art is this? Chu Zhongtian was caught off guard as he hurried to raise his rapier to block. Clang, 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 clang. Yi Chen attacked 64 times, and 3 of them broke through Chu Zhongtian's defense, landing on his shoulder, chest, and arm. The sound of clothes tearing rang out as Chu Zhongtian retreated with a gloomy face. Using the body as a sword, is this the unity of man and sword? Jing Aoshuan was a little confused. Li Xiaoyun shook his head. No, an ordinary unity of man and sword would not be able to move as freely as this. This is still a sword art, but he has turned himself into a sword art. However, the unity of man and sword is about the inseparability of man and sword. There is a subtle difference between the two. Whether it was the unity of man and sword or not, or he had turned himself into a sword, Chu Zhongtian was very passive. After all, Yi Chen's sword art was already very powerful, and now even his step art was a sword art. His reaction was inevitably a beat slower, and he could not grasp the initiative. The clothes on his back were torn open as Chu Zhongtian hurried to turn around and wave his rapier. No, normal attacks would not be able to do anything to him. I have to land a killing attack. The rapier shadow brushed past his chest. Yi Chen lifted up his left hand and flicked his finger. Boom. The dark red rapier in his hand was blown away, and the sword chi spread out. Chu Zhongtian knew that it was not good, since he had forgotten that Yi Chen's fingers could also release sword chi. Moreover, it was even more powerful than normal sword chi, almost as powerful as an ace attack. Cut. Seizing the opportunity, Yi Chen's speed exploded. His 2 swords, one in front and the other in the back, attacked out. Impossible. Chu Zhongtian threw out his left fist. A metal exploding sound was heard as the sword light on Chu Zhongtian's fist sliced through, leaving behind 2 intersecting white marks. Burning sparks shot out everywhere, covering more than 1 mile. Meanwhile, Chu Zhongtian's feet felt weak and he was blown away. A battle of this level has already surpassed my imagination. I simply can't imagine how an astral-reaching expert could possess such a frightening battle power. Yeah, Astral Spirit Sun has the Astral Spirit body which boosts his battle power and defense. No wonder he could kill a spirit warrior. Yi Chen is even more frightening. He has already displayed the sharpness of a sword artist to the extreme. Astral Spirit Sun can't have an easy time against him, and is completely suppressed. This is a peak confrontation, a battle of the highest level among the young generation of Southern Sector. On the platform, everyone was extremely excited. Their eyes were unblinkingly watching the battle in the sky, although they couldn't see the actual content of the battle. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. Being forced into a corner by Yi Qin, Chu Zhongtian used the Dark Flame Annihilation Wave, which had the widest range but was slightly inferior in single-target attacks. With a swing of the mace, a dark red radiance shot out in a fan shape, soaring into the sky and submerging Yi Qin within. Those with good eyesight could see a gap in the fan shape. Faintly, one could see a human figure standing there with two swords crossed, repelling the dark red radiance. Tyrant Dragon Mace Destruction. Seizing the upper hand for the first time, Chu Zhongtian flew into the dark red radiance, which had yet to dissipate. His mace descended from the sky and fiercely chopped down. A dragon roar resounded in the sky, and the dark red demonic dragon chi flow wreaked havoc. However, the next moment the demonic dragon chi flow was decapitated, and the blue-robed Yi Qin rushed out, sweeping his sword horizontally, scattering a crescent moon-like sword light. Truly repulsive. Chu Zhongtian had already used up all of his power, so he had no choice but to raise his mace to block and back out. Not good. I can only perform the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Only the 9th movement can open a gap in his defense and create an opportunity. With that thought, Yi Qin put away his Thunder Sword and Destruction Sword, and the Greenwood Sword bounced out. The Greenwood Sword shone with a soft blue light. Within the light, there seemed to be countless plants growing, full of vitality. Carrying the Greenwood Sword, Yi Qin chased after Chu Zhongtian. The Greenwood Sword twirled in his hand and then stabbed out, close to nature. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Life, life, life. Chu Zhongtian opened his eyes wide, watching the sword light enlarge in front of his eyes. That sword attack was so mysterious. It did not seem to be a sword art but the process of plants growing. Under this sword attack that seemed to be in harmony with nature, Chu Zhongtian realized that no matter how hard he tried to dodge, he would not be able to avoid it. 50%. Jing Aoshuan, who was watching from below, could not help but blurt out. Before comprehending the profound, one could only comprehend a 50% profound martial art at most. However, Yi Qin's sword attack had obviously reached the critical point. A violent dark red chi flow shot up into the sky. Chu Zhongtian wanted to battle with Yi Qin again. Chu Zhongtian, you've lost. This match is over. Jing Aoshuan stepped forward to stop him. Chu Zhongtian glared at Jing Aoshuan. You can't stop me. Jing Aoshuan said indifferently, the martial tea gathering is not a place to decide life and death. Losing one move is still a loss. I hope you can abide by the rules. For me there must be a real winner in a battle. Get out of my way. Chu Zhongtian took one step forward, and a fierce dark red chi flow shot out. Jing Aoshuan did not continue to speak. Thunder flashed in front of her eyes, and the thunder was extremely violent. In the next second, a wave of dark blue chi flow shot up into the sky. It contained an extremely horrifying martial will, directly tearing apart the sky. The two chi flows clashed together, each occupying half of the sky. Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan used her actions to tell Chu Zhongtian whose home field this was. Everyone tried their best to defend against the two chi flows as they exclaimed. Martial spirit, martial intent, and this Zhen Yuan, it doesn't seem to be any weaker than Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan. Could she have already trained her top-rank Earth Realm martial art to the 14th level? No, I'm afraid it's the highest level, the 15th level. I've long heard that Princess Jing has the Thunder Spirit body, and her speed of training Thunder Element Zhen Yuan is several times faster than ordinary people. Now that I see it, it seems to be true. Although the Zhen Yuan trained by the Element Spirit body was not as good as the evil Yuan of the Evil Spirit body, there was one thing that the Evil Spirit body could not compare with, which was the speed of training the corresponding Zhen Yuan. Others might only be able to increase their martial arts by one level in a few years, but the Element Spirit body could increase it by 3 or even 4 levels, which led to the Spirit body being able to train the top-rank Earth Realm martial arts to the highest level faster. Without a doubt, in terms of martial arts training, Jing Aoshuan had already walked ahead of everyone else. She had even condensed a real martial spirit. Yi Qin, who had landed on the stage, was not surprised at this scene. If Jing Aoshuan did not have some ability, she would not be able to become the host of this tea gathering. Of course, he could also tell that Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan was actually stronger than Jing Aoshuan's Zhen Yuan, even if it was enhanced with the martial spirit, martial intent. But one should not forget that Jing Aoshuan's speed of training Thunder Element Zhen Yuan was fast, and her speed of comprehending thunder mentality and thunder profound was also fast. This was something that Chu Zhongtian could not compete with. Chu Zhongtian had obviously thought of this as well. Not to mention the fact that he had consumed a lot of energy and only had 80 to 90% of his battle strength left. Even at his peak, he might not be able to defeat Jing Aoshuan. She was an expert at the same level as him, and without a life-and-death battle, it would be hard to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. Withdrawing his evil yuan, Chu Zhongtian turned around and walked back to his seat while saying, "Alright, I'll give you Jing Aoshuan some face." Jing Aoshuan also withdrew her Zhen yuan and secretly let out a breath. She was really worried that Chu Zhongtian would do something irrational. Once he flipped out, she was afraid that she would need to gather the power of Yi Qin, Li Xiaoyun, and herself to suppress him. After all, defeating and suppressing were two different things. Chu Zhongtian was the kind of person who could not be beaten down, and it could be seen from the fact that he only bled a little after receiving a killing move from Yi Qin. However, Chu Zhongtian's concession had made her think more highly of him. The untamable nature of the evil spirit body was something that had been known since the ancient times. Once they had made up their mind, it would be hard to stop them. Turning around, Jing Aoshuan nodded at Yi Qin. From her eyes, it was easy to tell that she had already considered Yi Qin as someone at the same level as her. "Then I will go rest now." Yi Qin held his fists together and returned to his seat. Yi Qin won. Yi Qin had actually beaten the true Dragon Realm Astral Spirit Sun. Our South Rudra region has been pushed to the heart of the storm. We have to work even harder when we get back so that we won't be looked down upon by others. Among the 17 warriors from the South Rudra region, some of them were the top warriors in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, so they were discussing secretly. Not only the South Rudra region, but also the young warriors from the other regions were watching Yi Qin. Their eyes were filled with passion, jealousy, and admiration. It was extremely complicated. In the pavilion, Tuaku forced a smile. "I did not expect that the astral spirit son with the evil spirit body would lose to you. I guess you can even be called the #1 warrior of the Southern Rudra region." Yi Qin shook his head and smiled. "Don't look down on Chu Zhongtian. Seriously speaking, his strength is more or less the same as mine. Defense is also a part of strength. If we were to have a battle of life and death, I would not have the confidence to win. As for the #1 warrior of the Southern Rudra region, you are underestimating Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun too much. They might not be able to beat Chu Zhongtian, but they might not lose to me either. The path of cultivation is too unpredictable." Tuaku nodded. He knew that what Yi Qin said was right. But, no matter what, among the young warriors of the Southern Rudra region, there was almost no one who could beat Yi Qin. "Li Xiaoyun, it is our turn to fight." Without returning to her seat, Jing Aoshuan looked at Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. Of course. Opening his silver fan, Li Xiaoyun flashed onto the stage. The battle between Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun was definitely not inferior to the battle between Yi Qin and Chu Zhongtian. The shockwaves coming from the stage never stopped. Jing Aoshuan's martial arts had already been trained to the highest level, the 15th level. Her Zhen Yuan was extremely pure, and she had also condensed a real martial spirit. Combined with her thunder profound martial arts, each of her movements was extremely aggressive, possessing the will and style of thunder. Li Xiaoyun's martial arts were at the 14th level, so his Zhen Yuan purity was slightly lower than Jing Aoshuan's. However, in terms of willpower, he was only below Yi Qin's. He had actually condensed a quasi-master level martial spirit. Moreover, he had trained a lot of profound martial arts, probably the most out of everyone present. He had 3 wind profound martial arts and 2 starlight profound martial arts. In addition, there was a mysterious power sealed in both of his hands. Every time this mysterious power exploded, it would be able to dissolve Jing Aoshuan's attacks. Boom. The Zhen Yuan wall in front of the pavilion was shattered, and the fist wind was about to reach. Yi Qin flicked out a green lotus sword chi, shattering the fist wind. "What a horrifying thunder profound martial art," Tuabaku said. This time, the Zhen Yuan wall shattering was completely an accident. After all, the shockwave alone would not be able to shatter Tuabaku's defense. But it was not the shockwave that had shattered the Zhen Yuan wall, but Jing Aoshuan's real attack. It turned out that Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun had dodged Jing Aoshuan's attack, which had caused the fist wind to travel all the way. Fortunately, the fist wind had already exhausted its power. Otherwise, it would not have been something that a green lotus sword chi could shatter. A 50% mastery thunder profound martial skill is indeed extraordinary. Yi Qin himself had also trained the thunder mentality, so he could naturally see Jing Aoshuan's achievement in the Thunder Profound martial art. In fact, the Thunder Spirit body combined with the Thunder Profound martial art would give her an advantage over normal people. On the stage, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan shot up into the sky. Boom, boom. Thunder flickered in the sky, and the entire dark cloud turned into Jing Aoshuan's support. Li Xiaoyan was not going to pass on the responsibility. The Wind Profound martial art could always blow away the dark clouds and the thunder, while the Starlight Profound martial art had an unimaginable penetrative power. Extreme Emperor World Shocking Fist Art. Jing Aoshuan performed a fist art that was even more horrifying than the Extreme Emperor World Tyrannical Fist Art. The vibrating thunder light was like an angry dragon as it rushed out. Break! The iron fan in Li Xiaoyan's hand danced in the sky as he performed an extremely powerful Wind Profound martial art as well, shattering Jing Aoshuan's attack. This battle lasted until dusk. Both sides were still evenly matched. Although they were physically exhausted, their mental state was obviously more vigorous than before. It was the fighting spirit that came from being fully focused. After another 1,000 attacks, Li Xiaoyan stopped his attacks and laughed. It seems like half a day is not enough. The tea gathering will end in the morning. Jing Aoshuan nodded. Let's call it a draw. It was not that the two did not want to have a winner. In fact, they were clear that when they were exhausted, it would be the best time to do so. However, time obviously did not allow it. After all, they were not the finale and they still had to fight with Chu Zhongtian and Yi Qin. As for who to choose, it would be decided by drawing lots. If they drew Chu Zhongtian, they would not be able to fight with Yi Qin. That was something that could not be helped. They could only choose one out of the two, even if it was Chu Zhongtian or Yi Qin. Chapter 470. The sunlight crystal pillar in the beautiful garden had already lit up, its radiance lighting up the entire garden and the platform as if it were daytime. Inside the pavilion, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Princess Jing and Edict Prince are evenly matched. I wonder if there will be a winner in the next two matches. Difficult. Chu Zhongtian's defense is absolutely abnormal, while Princess Jing's attacks are as fast as thunder. Edict Prince is as ethereal as the wind, while Yi Qin's sword art is unfathomable. If we are talking about the chances of winning, I would choose Yi Qin. After all, he is unfathomable. Unfathomable means unfathomable. That makes sense. But I feel like Edict Prince should be the winner. He has a lot of profound martial arts. Drawing lots was very simple. There were 4 wooden lots, 2 red and 2 blue. The red ones would fight with the red ones and the blue ones would fight with the blue ones. Spirit power was not allowed, and if one used it, the others would be able to sense it. As for Yi Qin, he did not think of using his soul power to cheat. For him, it was the same no matter who he fought. Yi Qin drew a red lot, and so did Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. My luck is not bad. Compared to Chu Zhongtian, Li Xiaoyan preferred to fight with Yi Qin. It was not because Chu Zhongtian was weak. On the contrary, Chu Zhongtian's defense was too strong. No matter how many profound martial arts he had, he would not be able to gain the upper hand. Therefore, it was better to fight with Yi Qin. Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian's match began first. The two had already competed in terms of Zhen Yuan and martial willpower. Jing Aoshuan was slightly weaker, but if they were to fight for real, they would be evenly matched. Jing Aoshuan's comprehension of profound sense martial arts was higher than Chu Zhongtian's. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. The battle had reached its climax. Chu Zhongtian had performed his wide-range profound sense martial art, which was a bit weaker in terms of single-target attacks. The dark red energy wave drowned Jing Aoshuan within a second. The energy wave exploded. Jing Aoshuan went against the current and punched at Chu Zhongtian with her right fist that carried endless lightning. Chu Zhongtian's Tyrant Dragon Truncheon of Destruction was just completed, and he met it head-on. An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire sky above Thunder City. 2 figures were sent flying backwards. Between them was a rapidly expanding dark light that devoured the darkness. Energy Blade Slash. Chu Zhongtian's vital spirit was indeed powerful. In terms of dispelling negative influences, it was stronger than Jing Aoshuan's. Therefore, even though he was in a reverse state, he could still use a small part of his vital spirit to launch a large-scale ordinary attack on Jing Aoshuan. Chi. The dark red blade of airflow sliced through the void and enveloped Jing Aoshuan. Jing Aoshuan took a deep breath. As she inhaled, her body flashed with tyrannical thunder. Her Zhenqi seemed to suddenly become active, forming a dark blue vortex outside her body. she clenched her right fist, and her middle finger protruded out as she punched. Extreme Monarch Tyrannical Fist. The mighty fist wind destroyed countless incoming airflow blades and tore apart the dark light that was still expanding, forcing Chu Zhongtian to retreat another 100 steps. However, Chu Zhongtian had already activated his Great Spirit Shield. The fist wind collided with the Great Spirit Shield, and an ear-piercing sound of metal rubbing could be heard. However, there was no effect at all. This Yi Qin is really scary. Seeing this scene, Jing Aoshuan had to admit that in some aspects she was inferior to Yi Qin. Since Yi Qin was able to defeat Chu Zhongtian, she thought that even if she couldn't defeat him, she would at least have the upper hand. However, imagination and reality were completely different. Chu Zhongtian was definitely not an easy opponent. His defense was strong, his attack was high, and his dodging was also high. If she didn't have the Thunder Spirit body, which could stimulate the activity of her body and make her reflexes far better than ordinary people, she might not be able to compete with Chu Zhongtian. She more or less knew that Yi Qin was not only strong in battle, but he was also an all-rounder and a genius with super adaptability. For example, there were also restraints between geniuses. Some people with similar strength would lose the battle because they were restrained. However, this problem basically didn't exist for Yi Qin. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage against anyone. If he wanted to attack, he could attack. If he wanted to dodge, he could dodge. If he wanted to use techniques, he could use techniques. All in all, in a one-on-one fight, Jing Aoshuan wasn't afraid of Yi Qin. In terms of battle adaptability, she was far behind Yi Qin. Yi Qin did not have any weaknesses. He was a flawless sword artist. Li Xiaoyun could also see that Jing Aoshuan couldn't do anything to Chu Zhongtian. Previously, Yi Qin had defeated Chu Zhongtian. He was very clear about what this meant. I really can't be careless at all. For the first time, Li Xiaoyun didn't have the confidence to win. Even when he was fighting against Jing Aoshuan, he thought that the final victory would belong to him as long as he had enough time. This wasn't confidence in strength, but confidence in character. Even if he couldn't win, he had to win. However, the battle between Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian made him understand that Yi Qin wasn't an ordinary person. Yi Qin didn't have any flaws, which could be seen from Chu Zhongtian's embarrassing look. Involuntarily, Li Xiaoyun turned his head and glanced at Yi Qin. Yi Qin had a deep look in his eyes as he watched the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Jing Aoshuan. To be exact, he was watching Jing Aoshuan. The Starlight Profound Sense martial art, Fan Dance 7-star kill, was thrown out. Without turning around, Yi Qin held the Thunder Sword with his left hand in a reverse grip. He only swung it backward. The twisted sword light sliced through the 7 cold stars, shattering his opponent's ace attack. At the same time, his feet sliced through the air, flying upside down in the air. He performed the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts, Amaranthine Nature. Li Xiaoyun's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. He was very clear about the power of this sword attack. Even Chu Zhongtian had suffered a huge loss, being attacked by Yi Qin without any defensive power. If Li Xiaoyun was hit by this sword attack, he would basically lose for sure. I can't be hit. On Li Xiaoyun's right arm, sparkles of starlight appeared. The blood vessels inside had all turned transparent, visible to the naked eye. On the skin of his right arm, a circle of complicated light patterns appeared. They were very ancient, like stars, but also like the orbit of the stars. On the skin of Li Xiaoyun's left arm, a circle of light patterns appeared as well. It was like a whirlwind pattern, but it was less ancient and more aggressive. Wind barrier. Without any process of performing profound sense, Li Xiaoyun reached out his left hand. A wind wall appeared out of nowhere in front of him. The wind wall was mysterious, with a big whirlwind covering a small whirlwind, and a small whirlwind connecting a big whirlwind. It did not need any power to keep spinning until it was destroyed. The wind wall was pierced through and torn apart. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts was not called Amaranthine Nature for nothing. Although the wind wall was self-sustaining, it could not compete with the destructive speed of Amaranthine Nature. It was an extremely horrifying sword attack. 7-star crossing. Li Xiaoyun knew that the wind barrier would not be able to stop Yi Qin, but it did not matter. His real target was the attack of his right hand. He rubbed his thumb and the iron fan closed, looking like a bright silver iron ruler. The iron ruler was filled with a huge amount of Zhenyuan and starlight, and he waved it out. 1-star bead. 2-star beads. 3-star beads. According to the arrangement of the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, star beads formed from Zhenyuan and starlight were born one after another. These star beads flickered with a bright light. Yi Qin frowned slightly. The 7 stars of the northern dipper in the sky above the true spirit continent were not the same as the 7 stars of his world. They were the main stars of the northern dipper star region, and had a magnificent mysterious power. Somehow he knew that once the 7 stars were arranged, it would be a threat to him. Although he was not afraid of the threat, it would be more effective to destroy it before it was released. Chapter 471. Yi Qin, I have never admired anyone in terms of fighting skills, but today I am impressed. However, with your ability, you might not be able to break the 7-star crossing. Li Xiaoyun admired Yi Qin a little bit. It was because of this that he knew that only the ultimate killing move, 7-star crossing, could pose a threat to him. The 7-star travel would require him to take out the star power that was sealed in his right arm, and the remaining star power would be able to perform it twice. But this time he did not have to go through the process of unsealing it. Therefore Li Xiaoyun was able to perform it even faster. The 7-star pearls flashed in the air. After the 7-star crossing was finished, it formed a subtle connection with the 7-star of the Big Dipper in the sky, continuously absorbing the power of the real 7-star of the Big Dipper to replenish itself. Immediately, bright starlight shone from the star beads, and a shocking scene happened. The space around the star beads turned dark, as if they had arrived in the starry sky, and only the 7-star of the Big Dipper was shining. Boom! The light of the 7-star crossing was released to the limit, carrying an ancient and eternal aura as it blasted towards Yi Qin. At that moment, time seemed to be flowing backward and the stars were surging. What a dangerous killing move! Yi Qin's expression suddenly changed. His master-level sword intent burst out, and the indestructible sword intent light ignored the rules of the starry sky, shining with its own light, fighting against the lonely darkness. Seeing Li Xiaoyun even use the 7-star crossing, Jing Aoshuan's eyes flashed. She had experienced the power of this move deeply. Before, Li Xiaoyun had used it against her. Fortunately, she was a thunder spirit body and she also cultivated Thunder Jin Yuan, which could not only stimulate her physical activity, but also stimulate her senses, preventing her from being lost in the darkness and losing the will to fight back. It should be known that in the starry sky, there were also thunder and lightning, and thunder would never retreat. She was the same. Apart from her, perhaps only Chu Zhongtian's evil spirit body and evil Yuan could fight against the 7-star crossing head-on. Lose? Li Xiaoyun stared at Yi Qin, who was swallowed by the 7-star. But then his eyes widened. In his vision, Yi Qin hadn't been destroyed. The light radiating off of him contained an aura of deathlessness, and it was the darkness that was being destroyed. It was as if, in front of Yi Qin, other than himself, everything else would die. Only Yi Qin was eternal and indestructible. The strongest sword intent, the immortal sword intent. Break. With the protection of the immortal sword will, Yi Qin's eyes were clear. With the amaranthan nature, he pierced through 4 of the 7 stars. For example, the reason why Jing Aoshuan could be the host of this tea gathering was because of the Edict Prince's recommendation. Now it was Jing Aoshuan's turn to choose the host. As expected, the person Jing Aoshuan chose was indeed Yi Qin. Although Yi Qin wasn't famous before, I believe that after this tea gathering, his name will spread throughout the entire southern region, even to other regions. Therefore, fame is not a problem. As for strength, everyone can see it for themselves. It has been a long time since such a powerful young sword artist has appeared in our southern region, and his sword intent is unparalleled. I believe no one has any objections, right? Hehe, Princess Jing must be joking. How could we have any objections? Who doesn't know Yi Qin's strength? No one dares to say that he doesn't deserve to be the next host of the tea gathering. I support Yi Qin. I support him as well. Seeing so many people supporting Yi Qin, Mu Lingfeng was very excited. If he had to describe Yi Qin in one word, it would be all-powerful. Xikong Sheng, who was wearing a black robe, was expressionless. His fists that were hidden in his sleeves were tightly clenched. This time he had lost again and didn't even manage to exchange blows with his opponent. He didn't know how powerful his opponent would be in the 4th battle. However, he would not give up. Setbacks would only make him fight even harder. Next time he would enter with a higher status, and his target would be the 1st knight. The 6th and 7th knights glanced at Xikong Sheng and shook their heads silently. Having such an opponent was Xikong Sheng's misfortune, but it was also his fortune. Only with ambition would there be motivation. Chu Zhongtian sneered. He didn't care about being the host of the tea gathering, but it didn't mean that he didn't care about losing to others. Today's humiliation would be returned 10 times in the future. In the next tea gathering he would defeat Yi Qin, who was the host of the tea gathering. That scene would be wonderful. Tuo Baku noticed Chu Zhongtian's expression and frowned slightly. This person should not be underestimated. After 2 years, who knew what level he would reach? His cultivation base was still at the late astral reaching realm, and he hadn't even reached the peak level yet. He didn't know how hard it was to train the evil Yuan, but even a tiny bit of progress would be horrifying. He couldn't help but start to worry about Yi Qin. All of a sudden, Tuo Baku smiled. Damn. Why am I worrying about Yi Qin? Of all people, I can't worry about him. Looking at his progress in the past few years, it could only be described as shocking. It would be hard to not be left behind by him. Wanting to surpass him would be extremely hard. In this world, who could be surpassed by Yi Qin, and could he even surpass him? Tuo Baku thought that it was funny and helpless. Among the four, Yi Qin could be considered a master in battle techniques, and it would be beneficial for everyone to talk. Of course, she could also tell that Yi Qin had also comprehended the thunder mentality, and she herself was about to comprehend the thunder profound. Yi Qin said, "Sure, I'm fine." The development of the world required communication, and so did the improvement of one's power. Without communication there would be no improvement. Building a car behind closed doors was not a very positive way. Chu Zhongtian originally wanted to leave, but after hearing Jing Aoshuan's suggestion, he hesitated a bit and decided not to leave. He was not afraid of not making any progress, but he was afraid that after he left, the three of them would make even more progress. If that was the case, he might as well join in. He wanted to see what kind of insights Yi Qin had on battling techniques. Chapter 472. After the tea gathering, Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing returned to the restaurant. Inside the restaurant's lobby, the two were enjoying their morning tea. Yi Qin saw that Murong Qingqing was absent-minded and kept looking in the northwest direction, so he could not help but ask curiously, "What's wrong with you?" Murong Qingqing brushed her hair and shook her head. "Nothing." Yi Qin knew that she did not want to talk about it, so there should be some hidden trouble. Moreover, he had noticed that ever since they met in the extreme place, he had noticed that Murong Qingqing had changed a lot. That kind of change could not be described with words, as if even her essence had changed. Martial tea gathering. Yi Qin. Master-level sword intent. On this day the Thunder City was quite popular. Whether it was in restaurants, tea houses, streets, or alleys, these three keywords could be heard everywhere. The most common scene was, "Did you know that this year's tea gathering had a huge upset?" An unknown young sword artist had beaten the astral spirit Sun Chu Zhongtian and tied with the edict Prince Li Xiaoyun, becoming the host of the next tea gathering. His name is Yi Qin. Of course I know. How could I not know? This news has spread like wildfire. Even that little brat from the Wang family knows that Yi Qin is very powerful, and wants to take him as his teacher and learn sword arts. This is nothing. I heard that a rank 5 martial school has come to recruit Yi Qin. Rank 5 martial school? Oh my, that is a martial school with a life and death realm warrior. Yi Qin should be able to join, right? Within one day the people who had not heard of Yi Qin in Thunder City were only ignorant kids. Within 3 days, every city within 10,000 miles of Thunder City knew about the result of this tea gathering. If nothing unexpected happened, Yi Qin's name would spread throughout the entire Thunder region in 1 month, and within 3 months, Yi Qin's name would spread throughout the entire southern region. He was only in his 20s, but he had already attained the master-level sword intent. It was impossible for him not to cause a sensation. In the past couple of days, there had indeed been some masters from rank 5 martial institutions who had come looking for Yi Qin, wanting him to join their martial institutions. They had also promised him the head disciple status, which would give him as many profound sense martial arts as he wanted, and the chance to receive guidance from life and death realm warriors from time to time. Of course, the condition was that he had to be loyal enough. Yi Qin politely declined. What a joke. If he chose to join these 5th-grade sects, he might as well join the Dragon God Celestial Palace. After all, the palace master was one of the peak kings under Su King. Not to mention Su Jing was still in the palace. However, these people did not give up. In the peak era he was not the only one with the evil spirit body. There were even more abnormal talents than the evil spirit body. Yi-Chen, I might not be able to help you in other areas, but in terms of thunder mentality, I believe that no one in the young generation of the southern regions can compare to me. As the host, Jing Aoshuan knew that she had to take the lead. Otherwise, the other three would not volunteer and reveal their experiences. After saying that, she stood up and lightly touched the floor. Her body flew out of the pavilion and landed on the misty surface of the lake. It was a picturesque scene. Reaching out her jade-like right hand, Jing Aoshuan slowly activated her Zhen Yuan and thunder mentality, giving people a clear feeling of being able to see everything clearly. Yi-Chen took a deep breath, staring at Jing Aoshuan's right hand without blinking. Swoosh! Lightning bolts shot out from Jing Aoshuan's right hand. What a profound thunder mentality. It was not hard for Yi-Chen to tell that she was imagining the birth and death of the thunder. Only she would be able to express the thunder mentality in a more vivid way, which would spark up a lot of inspiration in his mind. He would be able to comprehend it at any moment. Retracting her hand, Jing Aoshuan floated into the pavilion and sat down gracefully. Haha, I can't take advantage of you. My right hand has the star power sealed, which might be helpful to you in the future. Li Xiaoyun laughed as he flew out of the pavilion as well. Hearing him, not only Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian, even Yi Chen's eyes brightened up. The starry sky was the most mysterious place in the universe. The third of the three heavens, the top sky, was a starry sky. Even life and death realm warriors needed to learn the profound of the starry sky, not to mention them. Only when humans reached the starry sky would they realize how small they were. The star power was very mysterious, seeming to have some kind of weak connection with the stars in the sky. With this weak connection, Li Xiaoyun was able to learn the starry sky mentality and become the #1 warrior among the young generation in the southern regions, and now one of the top 4. The stars are the best place to learn the profound. Jing Aoshuan had the most enlightenment, since her thunder mentality was only one step away from the profound. So, she knew how the starry sky could help her train. What do you think? This is my ace. Li Xiaoyun flew back with a bright face. Yi-Chen laughed and said, since you two are so generous, I can't be stingy either. I will perform a sword art for you guys to see. This sword art is not just a simple sword art, but my personal experience in sword arts. I think it will not disappoint you guys. Let's wait and see. Jing Aoshuan was curious as to what kind of sword art Yi-Chen was going to perform. But, judging from Yi-Chen's personality, he would not use something simple to fool them. There must be something special about it. Since many Daos were related to martial arts, including sword arts, they were not afraid that they could not see anything. On the sparkling lake surface, Yi-Chen and his blue robes drifted with the waves. Taking a deep breath, he slightly closed his eyes. The second he opened them, he moved his right hand and took out the destruction sword. The sword light spread out and the sword chi was extremely sharp. A wave of murderous aura filled the air. This was a killing sword art that pointed directly to the source of killing. In this sword art, you could see the purest meaning of killing. It gave up on impulsiveness and all that was left was killing. Killing was one of the sources of human evolution. If there was conflict, there would be killing. If there was a martial world, then there would be killing. It was something that existed all the time. Therefore, fighting techniques were included in it as well. Yi-Chen sure is generous. Li Xiaoyun mumbled. None of them were idiots. They were all top geniuses. How could they not know that Yi-Chen was indirectly revealing the source of his techniques? Without a doubt, if one knew how to kill, then one would know how to fight. This kind of fighting technique would not have any detours, nor would it have any bad habits. It was just the simplest way of fighting. After finishing the sword art, Yi-Chen returned to the pavilion. Everyone, how was it? Jing Aoshuan laughed. It is only a sword art, but it has already let me know what I am lacking in battling, and what I do not need. Amazing. Yi-Chen, you're my friend for sure. Li Xiaoyun knew that Yi-Chen could have described the fighting techniques from other simple aspects, but he just had to reveal the source of his techniques, allowing them to have a deeper understanding. Moreover, this understanding was not just a short period of time but a long period of time. After every battle, they would be able to digest a bit of it, and the importance of it was self-evident. When the three's gazes fell on Chu Zhongtian's face, Chu Zhongtian curled his lips. He had to admit that he had also gained a lot of experience from this killing sword art. He also knew where many of his problems were. He had always thought that his astral essence was strong enough, and that he was at the peak in all aspects. Therefore he had neglected his techniques. Now he understood that in fact qualities existed for the sake of techniques. Of course, Techniques also existed for the sake of oneself. I don't have anything else but astral essence threads. After saying that, Chu Zhongtian flew out of the pavilion. Li Xiaoyun said meaningfully, astral essence threads, this is his ace in the hole. Zhen Yuan and astral essence were both energies, and energies were not rigid or unchanging. Among everyone here, only Chu Zhongtian could turn his astral essence into threads, which would increase his attacking power. Whoever got it would die, and the Sea of Souls Realm warriors would be the main characters. Boom, boom, boom. There were a lot of Sea of Souls Realm warriors who did not have top-rank weapons. They all rushed over with bloodshot eyes, killing whoever was in their way. In the end, the one who got the Red Ruler was a Spirit Realm warrior called Redwood Man. His power was one of the top among all the Sea of Souls Realm warriors, and his attacking speed was extremely fast. Plus, he had a couple of friends protecting him, which was how he managed to get the Red Ruler. Redwood, what do you think of this ruler? One of Redwood Man's friends asked curiously. This is a great weapon from the ancient era. Its power is one level higher than other weapons of the same rank. Plus, its element matches perfectly with my profound sense. With it, my battling power will increase by at least 20%. Redwood Man imprinted his soul mark on the ruler as he said happily. The few of them were shocked. Redwood Man already had a top-rank attacking weapon, so it should not have any flaws. They did not expect that this ancient weapon would be able to increase his battling power by another 20%. The gap between the two was not small at all. You guys don't have to worry. My old top-rank attacking weapon is yours now. As for how to split it, you guys decide. Redwood Man seemed to know how to behave, throwing his attacking weapon to his friends. Around them, some of the Sea of Souls Realm warriors who had been eyeing the Red Ruler were staring at it. It was not that they did not know how precious it was. It was a great weapon from the ancient era, and even the worst one would be better than the current ones. It was a well-known fact. If it were not for the fact that Redwood Man was powerful enough, they would have attacked already. Another prized artifact has appeared. Right then, another brown-colored iron stick shot out from the space crack. Just like the Red Ruler, it was also a top-rank attacking weapon. With the experience from last time, there were even more Sea of Souls Realm warriors participating this time, especially those who were very powerful but did not have a good weapon. Boom. A huge palm landed on the ground, blowing away at least 10 Sea of Souls Realm warriors. The iron stick landed in the hands of a middle-aged man in yellow robes. It is a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior. Everyone was shocked as they tried to keep their distance. There was a difference of one level between a spirit being and a true spirit being, and another level between a great master and a true spirit being. A normal great master could easily kill a true spirit being even if he didn't have a great treasure. The middle-aged man in yellow held the brown iron stick and waved it around a couple of times. The mountains nearby were immediately shattered into pieces, and the power chi spread everywhere. Not bad. Ancient things are indeed good. The space crack was like a treasure vault with holes, with 1 or 2 weapons flying out from time to time. Among the 10 of them, at least 7 of them were top-rank ones and 2 or 3 of them were defensive ones. Most of the Sea of Souls Realm warriors did not care much about the attacking ones, but once the top-rank defensive ones appeared, the scene could only be described as crazy. Under normal circumstances, a defensive artifact was worth 2 offensive artifacts. Especially the higher the grade, the more valuable the defensive artifact would be. Who wouldn't want their own defense to be a bit stronger? That way they would be able to protect themselves a bit more. The middle-aged man in yellow still wanted to get his hands on the top-ranked defensive weapon that had just flown out. But he was unlucky as a master-level warrior who had the same power as him had appeared. The two battled fiercely, neither of them willing to give in to the other. In the end, the defensive weapon was taken by the other master-level warrior. Damn. So unlucky. The middle-aged man in yellow had a complicated expression on his face. Oh my god. What kind of rank is it this time? The vibration is so intense. Even the space power has backed away from it. Amidst the rumbling sounds, an axe the size of a small mountain flew out. This axe emitted astonishing fluctuations, and the spatial crack seemed to be pushed open a little. The black aura dissipated, and in the end the axe flickered with a dazzling light, smashed dozens of mountains into pieces, and split open a deep abyss in the ground, sinking deep into the earth. Feeling unsteady on his feet, Yi Chen exclaimed, "This is an extreme rank weapon." Extreme rank weapons had the title of king-level weapons, because only life and death realm warriors could bring out their full power. In the hands of Sea of Souls realm warriors, they would be able to suck out all of their Jin Yuan in 2 or 3 attacks. Although there seemed to be only 1 rank between the two, the difference was not just 1 or 2 times, but more than 10 times. Extreme rank weapons were like the status of life and death realm warriors among the warriors. They were the kings of all weapons and their power was immeasurable. Surprisingly, no one tried to fight for that hill-sized axe. They would at most stand on the edge of the abyss and look down, not daring to do anything. Back off. This axe belongs to the leader of our Shining Martial School, the Shining King. Are you kidding me? It belongs to the Beast King. This place is the closest to the Thunder City. The axe should belong to our Black Thunder King no matter what. Let's not bring trouble to our martial school. Besides life and death realm warriors, no one would dare to touch the extreme rank weapons. It was just like how astral-reaching realm warriors would not dare to take out their top-rank weapons. He didn't need any troublesome women. Yi Chen didn't think too much about it. He acted according to his heart. If he wanted to go, he went. When he entered the space gate, he could no longer see Murong Qingqing's figure. He spread out his soul power and sensed that Murong Qingqing was 3 to 4 miles away from him. There were hundreds of people between them. Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Yi Chen sized up the passage. The passageway was formed from the power of space, and without the berserk and chaotic power of space, it was extremely stable and indestructible. What is going on with this black chi? Yi Chen realized that the black chi seemed to have its own intelligence. It was struggling with all its might as if it was trying to escape. Especially when someone passed by, that kind of struggle would become more and more intense. I should be careful. Subconsciously, Yi Chen walked in the middle of the passageway, trying to keep as far away from the black chi as possible. All of a sudden, a scream was heard from the front. It turned out to be an astral-reaching realm warrior who wanted to surpass the people in front of him. But unexpectedly, the black chi suddenly expanded and sucked him dry, leaving only a layer of gray skin. Even his bones seemed to have been shattered. Don't get close to the wall. The black chi is weird. Everyone was shocked and tried their best to move closer to the center. It would have been fine if they didn't pay attention before, but once they realized that the black chi could kill people, it would be a huge disaster. In the crowd, people would be knocked onto the wall and die instantly. Only after the number of people decreased did the chaos calm down. I knew it. Yi Chen's pupils shrank a little, but he had to keep moving forward. No matter how long the passageway was, there would be an end. In front of Yi Chen was a twisted thin layer, and everyone in front of him had disappeared into it. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen disappeared into it. Outside of the door there were less than 100 people left. Half of them were powerful warriors from rank 5 martial institutions, and they were still fighting over the ownership of the axe. It seems like there is no problem with the door. It will not collapse anytime soon. If we don't go in now, we will not get the good stuff anymore. A spirit warrior said. Indeed. There must be danger in there. But, as long as the place does not collapse, it would be no different from a normal forbidden place. Let's go. Let's go. All of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who had been holding back until now started to fly toward the door. Princess, come with us. Xiaoyan, over here. Zhongtian, let's hurry up. Among the rank 5 martial institutions in the Thunder City were Jing Aoshuan, Li Xiaoyan, and Chu Zhongtian's martial institutions. Under the lead of an inner master, the 3 of them also flew toward the door. After hundreds of thousands of years, the spirit power crystal stones formed by Sea of Souls realm warriors had already disappeared. Only life and death realm warriors would be able to leave behind some spirit power crystal stones. But of course it would not be a lot and it would depend on luck. After looting the human skeletons, Yi Chen turned his attention to the non-human kind skeletons. Human corpses have spiritual crystals. I wonder what these alien corpses have. Pa 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 pa. Under the power of Yi Chen's punch, the non-humankind skeletons turned into ashes, and a few black light spots sparkled in the ashes, shining brightly. With a swoosh, the black spots of light landed on Yi Chen's hand. They were 5 black crystals the size of a little finger. The energy contained within them was even stronger than the spirit crystals, but it was not the same kind of energy. Could these non-humankind be demons? Studying the black crystals, a horrifying thought appeared in Yi Chen's mind. The Battle King had never seen any demons in his life. Perhaps it was because there were no demons in the information he had given to Yi Chen. But the Battle King had seen the skeletons of demons in some forbidden places, and had obtained black crystals from them. These black crystals were similar to the Spirit Power Crystal Stones, and were called Demon Power Crystal Stones. Unfortunately, humans could not use them. Demons are extremely powerful. They are a race that is even more powerful than humans. It seems like the two races used to have a huge war in the ancient era. Yi Chen did not care much about it. No matter how powerful the demons were, they were already a pile of skeletons and could not do anything to him. Right now there was no news about demons in this true spirit continent. After obtaining the Spirit Power Crystal Stones and the Demon Power Crystal Stones, Yi Chen continued walking, wanting to see if there were any other life and death realm warrior skeletons. Haha! There are Spirit Power Crystal Stones inside these skeletons. They must be the skeletons of life and death realm warriors. There were a lot of warriors who had entered the parallel space battlefield. Besides most of the astral-reaching realm warriors who were struggling to avoid the Black Wind, the rest of the Sea of Souls realm warriors were not in any life-threatening danger. Some of the lucky ones had even found Spirit Power Crystal Stones inside the skeletons of life and death realm warriors. With enough Spirit Power Crystal Stones, my spirit body would be able to reach the next level. This is indeed a good place. Then what are we waiting for? Let's continue to search for more life and death realm warrior skeletons. This parallel space battlefield is so huge, so it would be impossible for there to be only one. There should be a lot of them. You are right. Let's not waste any more time. Let's move now before the others find us. As time went on, more and more people had found Spirit Power Crystal Stones. Of course, most of them were Sea of Souls realm warriors. Astral-reaching realm warriors had entered the parallel space battlefield, but they were still very nervous. They did not even have the time to save their own lives, not to mention the fact that it was not that easy to find life and death realm warrior skeletons. The 9th Spirit Power Crystal Stone. Shattering a life and death realm warrior skeleton, Yi Chen had gotten another 2 Spirit Power Crystal Stones, making it 9 in total. There is another life and death realm warrior skeleton 70 miles away. Yi Chen's soul power could radiate out for almost 100 miles. 70 miles to the east, there was a huge demon skeleton lying on the ground. Right next to it was a human life and death realm warrior skeleton. Besides that, there was also a 3-meter-tall human skeleton that caught Yi Chen's attention. Flashing his body, Yi Chen flew over. Arriving at his destination, Yi Chen did not say anything as he released his fist power, shattering the 3 skeletons into powder. The red Spirit Power Crystal Stones and the black Demon Power Crystal Stones fell into the pile of ashes. What a huge Spirit Power Crystal Stones. In the ashes of the life and death realm warrior, Yi Chen found 5 Spirit Power Stones, 3 of which were the size of soybeans, 1 of which was the size of a pinky finger, and the last one was the size of a thumb. The energy inside was so rich that it was equivalent to 5 normal-size Spirit Power Stones. The Demon Power Crystal Stones inside the demon skeleton did not change much. They were still the size of a pinky finger, and there were 2 of them in total. As for that 3-meter-tall human skeleton, it surprised Yi Chen because it was not the Spirit Power Crystal Stones inside, but the Demon Power Crystal Stones. There were the same amount as the Spirit Power Crystal Stones, 5 of which were the size of a thumb and 1 of which was the size of a longan. Is this also a demon's man? Yi Chen guessed to himself. Dozens of miles away, a human figure had his eyes on Yi Chen. My luck is not bad. I can't believe I ran into a fat sheep. His power is only at peak level late astral reaching realm. It seems like this parallel space battlefield is my fortune. I have to make good use of it. The human figure sneered. He turned into a beam of light and shot out. Someone is here. Activating his soul power at all times would consume too much energy. Therefore normally he would keep his alert range within 5 miles at most. This way, even if someone suddenly appeared, he would have enough time to react, adjust his state and counterattack. The incoming person was extremely fast. Within a couple of breaths, he had already appeared 100 steps away from Yi Chen. Brat, you are not running? It seems like you are quite smart. You know that you can't outrun Sea of Souls realm warriors. That's good too. It will save me a lot of time and effort. Hand over the spirit power crystal stones and that black crystal stone. I am in a good mood, so I might let you go. It was a middle-aged man wearing a yellow battle robe. He had a strong body, sharp eyes, and a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Yi Chen stood in the middle of the ashes and said coldly, "Why should I give it to you?" Obviously, he did not expect Yi Chen's attitude to be this tough. It seemed like he did not care about him at all. In fact, he could even see a trace of disdain in Yi Chen's eyes. Boom. The ground under his feet sank a little bit. The man in yellow robes said with a creepy voice, "I was planning to leave your body intact, but it seems like there is no need for that." Die. The dark red soil exploded, and a huge blade appeared in the man's hand. It had the vibration of a top-ranked great weapon, which was extremely heavy. It was like a huge mountain had been compressed into it. With the power of the mountain, the blade sliced through the sky and attacked at an extremely fast speed. Yi Chen held 3 swords with his right hand at the same time. He shook his Zhen Yuan, and the 3 swords stuck together. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen waved out a sword. Boom. The ground shook a couple of times and a couple of pitch-black ravines appeared on the ground. The man in yellow robes was blown backward in disbelief, a trace of blood leaking out of the corner of his mouth. What is going on? I am a soul warrior, but I cannot beat a peak-level late astral-reaching realm warrior, even though he is also holding a top-ranked great weapon. The man in yellow robes looked at Yi Chen with a serious expression on his face. Yi Chen looked at the long swords that were stuck together and thought to himself, Zhen Yuan strings are indeed useful. Only a normal sword attack could force back a soul warrior. The evil Yuan strings that Chu Zhongtian had revealed were indeed hard to train, but one should not forget that Yi Chen's original soul was unparalleled. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors might not be able to compete with him. Plus, this evil Yuan string or Zhen Yuan string was just a very difficult skill, not a powerful martial art. It would be much easier to learn. Therefore, right now, Yi Chen had already mastered the Zhen Yuan string ability, which would allow him to perform even more powerful attacks. Brat, you indeed have some power. But it ends here. With a roar, the man in yellow performed his profound sense martial art, throwing out a blade attack at an extreme speed. 70%. Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as he threw out the 9th movement of his green lotus sword art, Amaranthan Nature. Combined with his master-level sword intent, it was as fast as a shooting star, clashing with the blade. Oh. A huge mouthful of blood was puked out, mixed with bits of flesh. The man in yellow was shocked to the core. Not good. I have run into a tough one. Perhaps he is a true dragon-level martial genius from the tea gathering? He had heard that a true dragon-level martial genius could compete with a soul warrior, but today was the first time he had seen one. He could not help but curse his bad luck. You can leave your life here. Yi Chen did not give the man in yellow the chance to escape. He used his body as a sword and appeared on his right side, performing his Amaranthan nature once again. Forgive people when you can. You will not have a good ending if you go too far. The man in yellow robes roared as he lifted up his blade to block out the attack. The tip of the sword was lifted up slightly. The long sword brushed past the blade and pierced through the man's neck, bringing out a long stream of hot blood. Pulling out the sword, Yi Chen said lightly, "This is your ending." The man in yellow robes had his eyes wide open as he fell onto the ground. The storage ring on his finger was sucked into Yi Chen's hand. Without even looking, Yi Chen threw it into his own storage ring before turning to leave. A spiritualist had died just like that. His body was split into 4 pieces, and the elder in black had died. Impossible. He is only at the peak level of late astral reaching realm. The bald middle-aged man's face was filled with astonishment, and his face contorted. Run. Without thinking, the middle-aged man performed his movement art and escaped at an extreme speed. Amaranthan nature. Putting the thunder sword and the destruction sword back into their scabbards, Yi Chen took a deep breath and stabbed out with his sword. The sword chi spilled out. Dang. Sensing the sword chi with his soul power, the middle-aged man hurried to turn around and waved his stick. Burning sparks covered his whole body. Not good. The middle-aged man could only feel his chi and blood flowing in reverse, and his internal organs being shattered. A mouthful of blood mixed with pieces of flesh spurted out, and it did not stop for a long time. By the time the middle-aged man recovered his chi and blood, Yi Chen was already 10 steps away, waving his sword down. Swoosh! The middle-aged man had died. Reaching out his hand and sucking the storage ring into his hand, Yi Chen shook his head. He thought to himself, the power of the Soul Realm warriors is not the same and these few are too weak. I wonder what rank I would be in the Soul Realm. Yi Chen had never thought that he could compete with Spirit Realm warriors. What a joke. Spirit Realm warriors had already trained their martial arts to completion, and had even learned the profound. How could he fight against them? Not to mention one Yi Chen, even 3 or 5 of Yi Chen would not be able to compete with Spirit Realm warriors. Fighting 2 realms higher than him was not something that could be said casually. Of course, with his Green Lotus Sword spell trained to its 14th realm, his body had produced a Lotus Heart Sword chi. Therefore he was not afraid of most of the Soul Realm warriors anymore. Only those who were close to the Spirit Warrior level would have to be careful, since these people were extremely powerful. Time to find Murong. Relying on his intuition, Yi Chen picked a direction and flew out. Thousands of miles in front of Yi Chen in a sunken area, Murong Qingqing was facing a life-and-death crisis. Her opponents were 2 Spirit Realm warriors. There was a huge difference in power between Spirit Realm warriors, and normal Spirit Realm warriors would not even be able to handle one attack from her. However, these 2 were definitely powerful warriors. Their martial arts were all trained to completion, and their profound martial arts had also reached 50% completion. As long as they could learn a little bit of the profound, they would be able to reach Spirit Realm. If it were not for the fact that she had finally trained her bloodline to perfection and increased her power by half, she would have been dead already. Flying Sky Assassination Cut. With a heavy wound on her back, Murong Qingqing puked out a huge mouthful of blood. She threw out an attack at the middle-aged man in front of her. The middle-aged man did not dare to underestimate her, so he threw out a blade attack to meet her attack. Boom! The mountains around the 2 shattered and a massive light ball exploded. Am I going to die here? Blood kept spurting out of her mouth as Murong Qingqing revealed a self-mocking smile. The short old man who had not been doing anything said, "Don't resist. With the 2 of us working together, no Spirit Realm warrior would be able to survive. Although your power is not much weaker than ours, it is impossible for you to turn the tables. Just give up." Black light spread out on the surface of her body as Murong Qingqing tried her best to maintain her injuries. She reached out her right hand and condensed a black light ball. The black light ball exploded and shot out in a fan shape, increasing its power. The 2 originally thought that the black light ball did not have much power, but who would have thought that the light attack actually contained a soul attack, causing their minds to become muddled. Fortunately, the power of the soul attack was limited, so the short old man immediately woke up. With an ugly expression he said, "I almost failed miserably. I didn't think that the profound martial art you've learned actually contained a soul attack. Unfortunately, you've only learned the tip of the iceberg. Otherwise, I would have died in your hands. Blade Scar, let's kill her together." Chapter 477. There is an energy vibration up ahead. It is Murong Qingqing battling with someone else. Hundreds of miles away, Yi Chen's speed suddenly increased as he sensed Murong Qingqing's chi. From afar, Yi Chen could see the sunken ground. Inside the sunken ground, the short elder and the middle-aged man were attacking Murong Qingqing together. Both of them had the power of peak-level soul warriors, but they were still at early Sea of Souls realm, which was not that powerful. Taking out his destruction sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, the sword chi looking like a rainbow. Who? The short elder reacted very fast, waving his palm to block out the sword chi. But the attacking power still made him back out dozens of steps, wobbling uncontrollably. After a couple of flashes, Yi Chen appeared right next to Murong Qingqing. "Are you okay?" Seeing that Murong Qingqing was badly wounded, Yi Chen frowned. A smile appeared on Murong Qingqing's face as she shook her head. "If you were one step too late, I would have been in trouble." Then she coughed out another mouthful of blood, dyeing her clothes red. "Brat, die." The middle-aged man held his blade with both of his hands, waving it down heavily. The blade light covered both of them, planning to kill them all at once. Yi Chen's eyes flashed as both of his swords attacked back and forth. Swoosh! The massive light ball exploded, and the depth of the crater increased from hundreds of meters to thousands of meters, looking like a deep, hemispherical pit. The middle-aged man could not handle the power of Yi Chen's attack, and his whole body was blown away for thousands of meters, cutting off half of a mountain. This brat is tricky. The short elder's pupils shrank. He knew about the middle-aged man's power. Besides some of the freakishly powerful soul warriors, almost no one would be able to compete with him. Plus, the middle-aged man had trained the earth mentality, which was known for its powerful power. Even with that, he could not handle Yi Chen's attack, which showed how hard Yi Chen was to deal with. The middle-aged man flew back, his face a bit pale. He licked his lips as he stared at Yi Chen with a serious and murderous look. The short elder said, "Blade Scar, do your best." The knife-scarred man sneered, "Don't worry, he can't hurt me. Try to recover from your injuries first. Leave them to me." Yi Chen could see that Murong Qingqing's injuries were recovering at an extremely fast rate. This kind of recovery speed was very abnormal, but when he thought about the many secrets Murong Qingqing had, the abnormality seemed normal. Murong Qingqing nodded. All right. She was clear that if she didn't recover to a certain degree, she would only be a hindrance if she went up. Moreover, she was surprised to find that Yi Chen's strength had reached a whole new level. He was even stronger than when he was in the tea gathering. Kit, you alone aren't enough. The short elder heaved a sigh of relief. If it was one-on-one, he would not have the confidence to defeat Yi Chen. But if it was two-on-one, the difficulty would be reduced by several times. He was afraid that Murong Qingqing would disregard her injured body and join hands with Yi Chen. If that happened, the outcome would be unpredictable. Yi Chen's expression didn't change. We'll know once we try. Go. Without any nonsense, the short elder and the knife-scarred man attacked Yi Chen from the left and right. One performed a palm art while the other performed a blade art. Their teamwork was perfect. Ding, 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 ding. Yi Chen was not afraid at all. He held the thunder sword in his left hand and the destruction sword in his right, splitting his mind and fighting against the two alone. What? Dual sword style. After a round of attacks, the short elder could not help but exclaim in a low voice after seeing that he could not do anything to Yi Chen. Before, when Yi Chen had sent the knife-scarred man flying with his dual swords, he already had some doubts. Now he was finally sure that Yi Chen was a rare dual sword style sword artist, able to split his mind and attack with ease. With an ugly expression, the short elder yelled out. Both of his hands turned into ghostly fire claws as he threw out 18 palm strikes. Each palm strike contained a powerful fire mentality, exploding violently. The knife-scarred man did not dare to be careless either. His dirt-yellow heavy blade carried a dense earth mentality as he slashed out diagonally and vertically, each strike fatal. Break. With a thunderous roar, Yi Chen jumped up. The Sky Thunder Cut and the Reverse Sky Thunder Cut attacked from the left and right respectively, giving people the feeling that there were two Yi Chen overlapping on top of each other, which was extremely strange and horrifying. Pow, pow, pow. The sound of explosions never stopped. The three separated from each other from time to time and clashed together from time to time. It was a dazzling scene. Get down here. The knife-scarred man suddenly reached out his left hand. A powerful gravity covered Yi Chen, pulling him down at an extremely fast speed. Gravity. Cut without any mistakes. A piercing cold light flashed through his eyes as Yi Chen gave up on the dual sword style and combined three swords into one. One sword contained the destruction sword intent as it sliced out horizontally, forming a perfect circle. A full moon appeared and the gravity was split in half. The knife-scarred man was shocked. Even gravity can be cut open? Who the fuck can tell me what is going on? What is going on? Idiot. Who told you to use gravity attack? The short elder had made up his mind to use all of his power to exhaust Yi Chen. He did not believe that Yi Chen would be able to keep it up. Multitasking was extremely taxing, and it was not just one or two times but at least a few times. However, seeing the knife-scarred man use gravity attack, and Yi Chen switched from dual sword style to single sword style, he could not help but grind his teeth in anger. The knife-scarred man said impatiently, "Who the fuck knew that he could cut the gravity? What a freak." Never mind. It is good that he is not multitasking. With just one sword he would not be our opponent. The short elder did not want to argue with the knife-scarred man, so he took the initiative to back off. Holding the top-rank long sword with three swords combined into one, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, performing the ninth movement of the Green Lotus sword art, Amaranthan nature, towards the short elder. Not good. It is a 50% profound sense martial art. Although profound sense martial arts had different levels of power, it was very easy to tell before learning the profound sense, especially when it was at 50%, which was very close to the profound sense. The speed of the sword chi was way too fast and it was getting faster and faster. It was already impossible to dodge it. The short elder only had time to set up a defensive layer in front of him. The defensive layer was shattered, and the short elder's shoulder was bleeding profusely. Piss off. The knife-scarred man's attack had arrived. The 100-meter-long blade chi was like a falling jade pillar, slashing towards Yi Chen's head. Sparks were brought up as Yi Chen waved his sword to block out the blade chi. I want you dead. Seizing the opportunity, the short elder did not care about the sword wound on his shoulder anymore. He grabbed the air with his right hand, and a huge flame hand was about to wrap around Yi Chen. Even more sparks were brought up. Yi Chen put more power into his arm, and the long sword and the blade chi brushed past each other. He then immediately cut open the huge flame hand and jumped out from the gap. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that it was beyond the limits of one's vision. The blade chi dimmed a little, and the knife-scarred man's blade momentum changed from a vertical chop to a horizontal chop. The blade chi followed closely behind Yi Chen, trying to cut him in half. Bang! For no reason the blade chi was shattered. Murong Qingqing, whose clothes were stained with blood, dashed over. Soul destruction wave. The black light ball in her left hand exploded, and a fan-shaped black shock wave spread out. Oh no! The short elder and the knife-scarred man dodged to the side at the same time. Although this black shock wave could not do anything to them, their minds would be muddled for a moment. If it were before, they would not care about it. But now they had to deal with an extremely troublesome Yi Chen. The short elder dodged the radiation of the shock wave, but because the knife-scarred man's blade chi and blood were shaken, his reaction was a little slower. This race, I am the family that I belong to, and I have the bloodline of this family. Thinking about how low-key Murong Qingqing used to be, Yi Chen said, if this is a big deal you should not say it. I will understand. Actually, it is okay to say it. Those life and death realm warriors all know about my family, and half of them are not against us living in this land. Of course, the other half wants to kill my family, and they are just waiting for the right opportunity. Murong Qingqing laughed at herself. My family is called the Demi-Demon family, and all of my family members have the Demi-Demon bloodline. Chapter 479. You must be joking. The Thunder region is so huge. If you want a share of everything that lands in here, then no one would be able to get anything. If you have a solution, then I would love to hear it. The Black Thunder King did not try to pressure the two, so he threw the problem to the Shining King and the Beast King. The Shining King said, "This axe is mine and I can compensate you with other things." The Black Thunder King sneered and said to the Beast King, "Beast King, do you agree?" "Of course not. I know that you have a lot of good things, but I do not want them. On the other hand, I can compensate for your loss. I will take the axe." The Beast King liked heavy weapons the most, and the axe would be perfect for him. So, there was no way he would agree with the Shining King's solution. The Shining King said angrily, "Then what do you think we should do?" The Black Thunder King said, "Beast King, you have trained the earth element Zhen Yuan. I have 2 earth yuan crystals that I got from the sealed dust star. They should be enough to increase your cultivation by 40 years. 40 years of cultivation is not a small amount. Right now, your cultivation should be no more than 300 years, right?" "What? You have 2 earth yuan crystals?" The Beast King was shocked. The cultivation of a life and death realm warrior would start from the life and death realm. Normally, when one had just reached the life and death realm, their cultivation would not be more than 100 years. Even Xianhou had only had 80 to 90 years of cultivation. When the Beast King reached the life and death realm, his cultivation was even lower, only 30 years. He had trained for 220 years, and had also found some treasures that could increase his cultivation, so he only had about 290 years of cultivation. Therefore, 40 years of cultivation was indeed not a small amount. It would be enough for his battling power to increase a lot. Although it would not be as powerful as the extreme rank axe, if he tried to fight for it he would not have more than 30% chance of getting it. What do you think? The Black Thunder King was confident. The Beast King laughed. Black Thunder King, it would be useless to take care of me. Even if I quit, there is still the Shining King for you to take care of. The Black Thunder King shook his head. You do not need to worry about this. As long as you promise not to get involved, these 2 Earth Yuan crystals will be yours. I was planning to exchange them with the other kings anyway. There are a few king warriors who train the earth element in this true spirit continent. The Beast King took a deep breath and laughed. All right, I promise you. The axe belongs to you too, I won't participate. Great. Here you go. The Black Thunder King waved his hand and threw out 2 crystal stones that were shining with a muddy yellow halo. Reaching out to catch the Earth Yuan crystal, the Beast King examined it carefully. It was indeed an Earth Yuan crystal. He grinned and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will go back on my word? I believe you would not do that. Plus I, the Black Thunder King, am not that easy to fool." Hatred rarely appeared between king warriors, and once it did, it would be a fight to the death. Therefore, the Black Thunder King did not think that the Beast King was ready to fight to the death with him. You have won. How could I, the Beast King, go back on my word? The Beast King glanced at the axe with pity, then waved his hand. All of the people from the Imperial Beast Martial School were covered in a yellow halo, backing out hundreds of miles with him. Meanwhile, he himself sat in the midair, not planning to leave yet. The Black Thunder King did not care about the Beast King's attitude. He turned his head and looked at the Shining King. "Shining King, why don't you back off now?" "Black Thunder King, don't push it." The Shining King froze for a second, then became enraged. The Black Thunder King had sent away the Beast King, but did not plan to compensate him. Although he had already prepared himself to not accept the compensation, he could not accept the Black Thunder King's attitude of ignoring him. A king warrior's dignity could not be challenged, even if the other party was also a king warrior. Damn. This Black Thunder King is so evil. Luckily he chose me first. The Beast King made a face. The Black Thunder King's power was way more powerful than any of them. Without him, the Shining King would obviously not be his opponent, and without the Shining King he would not be his opponent either. If the Black Thunder King had chosen the Shining King first, then he would not be able to get any compensation, nor would he be able to get the axe. The people from the Shining Martial School were also feeling humiliated. However, the king warrior's dignity was not something they could judge, so no one dared to show their anger. The Black Thunder King sneered, "I have pushed it too far. Last time, you and the Blue King had tricked me, and I have not gotten even with you yet. Today I will take care of both the old and the new. The thing that I want, you will not be able to stop it." The Shining King did not say another word as his body turned into a beam of light, shooting toward the axe. Both of his eyes shot out beams of thunder. The Black Thunder King threw out a palm attack, breaking the beam of light and knocking the axe into the air. He then reached out his left hand trying to grab it. The beam of light flashed again as the Shining King's hand attack shattered the Zhenyuan and will of the Black Thunder King on the axe. The two continued to fight around the axe. The surreal space was like a broken mirror, cracking and making a loud noise. Extreme Emperor Shocking Fist Art. Up in the sky, the Black Thunder King's roar was like a world-destroying thunder. He performed an attack that Jing Aoshuan had used before. However, when it landed in the hands of the Black Thunder King, its power had increased by hundreds or even thousands of times. The surreal space had been pierced through, causing space fragments to tumble everywhere. Just a low-rank profound martial art. Bright light of the Shining King. The Shining King's body was like a small red sun, exploding with an endless light. The light immediately destroyed the fist power of the Black Thunder King and covered him within. Stupid. The Extreme Emperor Shocking Fist Art is only used to exhaust your ace attack. 5 Thunder Print. The Black Thunder King reached out his left hand that was behind his back. He opened his 5 fingers, each of them shooting out a dark blue light print. Wherever the light print reached, the light disappeared. You are the stupid one. My light of the Shining King does not only have martial power but also speed. The extreme rank axe is mine now. The Shining King traveled through the light that had not disappeared yet. His speed was extremely fast, as if he was the light and the light was him. If I say that you are stupid, then you are. 5 Thunder Print. Seal. Pow. In front of the Shining King, the 5 light prints suddenly stopped, forming a sealed area filled with thunder and lightning, blocking his way out. Anger flashed through the Shining King's eyes as he waved his hand in the air. A huge black hole appeared in the surreal space and his whole body jumped in. However, in the deepest part of the surreal space, there were also thunder and lightning. Of course, it was much weaker than the outside world and could not threaten him at all. Just as he was about to appear in the surreal space near the axe, a huge hand pushed him in again. Black Thunder King, you bastard! Don't think that you can get it so easily. Swoosh. The light formed into a chain and dragged the axe in. Alright. This time, I will beat you until you are scared. The Black Thunder King stepped out and entered the deepest part of the surreal space. When the two of them disappeared, the world returned to normal. Warm sunlight shone down and the surroundings were in a mess. There were some places where the Earth's crust had been pierced through, and surging magma continuously splashed out. It was bright red and incomparably hot, and it was a shocking sight. Close. The Beast King landed on the lava, and the brown light around his body suddenly expanded. The cracks on the ground closed up quickly, and the broken crust started to recover at a shocking speed. He then said without turning his head, "You guys do what you need to do. I will go check it out." After saying that, he jumped into the deepest part of the surreal space. After the three king warriors had left, the rest of the people looked at each other. So horrifying.